Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Ninja World. Start with a shock fruit, save Tsunade from War Demigod. Chapter 81. Yi Ming. Kushina in Yi Ming's arms, listening to the voices around, looking at the eyes that want to kill her. She is like an abandoned kitten, and like a drowning person, scared, and then grabs in pain, living her only support. Yi Ming shed tears. Danzo watched this scene, especially hearing the voices of more and more people responding. He was very satisfied. At the same time, he is more eager for that position. Kill her, kill that monster to avenge our loved ones. That's right, only the blood of this monster can pacify the soul. Kill her. Master Yi Ming, you are our Konoha hero, please kill that monster for us. Yes, Lord Yi Ming, please kill that monster for us. Kill her, kill her. The people who were blinded by hatred approached Yi Ming and Kushina step by step, and there was some coaxing in the crowd to make Yi Ming kill Kushina himself. Beside Yi Ming, Tsunade watched all this silently, during which he glanced at the silent Sarutobi Hiruzen and clenched his fists tightly. It wasn't me, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. In Yi Ming's arms, Kushina burst into tears, looking at a pair of hateful eyes, shaking her head constantly. Shut up, all lousy. Yi Ming's eyes suddenly became sharp. He raised his feet, dodged fiercely towards the ground, and roared at everyone. Boom! Following Yi Ming's stomping, the whole earth shook. It was as if an earthquake of magnitude 4 or 5 had been discovered, and the slightly weaker ninjas were unsteady and fell to the ground one by one. All of them looked at Yi Ming with frightened eyes. However, because of this, everyone shut up at this time. Woo! Yi Ming let out a long breath, glanced at everyone, and said loudly, "How many of you here know what Jinchuriki represents? Know what that monster, Nine Tails, represents to Konoha?" Quiet. Everyone did not answer Yi Ming's words, and looked at Yi Ming one by one. Yi Ming didn't really want them to answer. He looked at everyone and continued. Everyone should have heard of the rumors about the tailed beasts. Now I tell you, there are 9 tailed beasts in the ninja world. They are located in the major ninja villages, as the ultimate weapons of the major ninja villages, and also the deterrent force of the major ninja villages. 9 Tails, the most powerful existence among the 9-tailed beasts. It is in our Konoha. It is Konoha's ultimate force to deter the major shinobi villages. Quote. Yi Ming said this, paused and then continued. You have all seen the power of 9 Tails. Konoha has 9 tails, and we have the trump card to compete with other shinobi villages. And Kushina, as the Jinchuriki of 9 Tails, is the hero who protects Konoha. Without her, the major ninja villages would unscrupulously send their village-tailed beasts. Without her, all of you would live tremblingly under the deterrence of the tailed beasts. Yes, the 9 Tails riot this time has caused many people to lose their relatives and friends, but is this what she wants? Kushina was attacked by someone else's illusion and released 9 Tails. Controlled 9 Tails. Is this her responsibility? No, it is the responsibility of all of you, and it is the responsibility of Konoha. As the leader of the 5 major ninja villages, since people have quietly invaded the village and let people kidnap the village's Jinchuriki, is this your responsibility? Ha! Yi Ming's words made everyone silent. In fact, many people here do not know the existence of 9 Tails, nor the meaning of Jinchuriki's existence. Now, Yi Ming directly stated the existence and meaning of 9 Tails on the table. For a while, everyone didn't know what to say. In Yi Ming's arms, after hearing Yi Ming's words, Kushina's eyes were moist, and her beautiful eyes looked at the man holding her, full of emotion. Originally, about becoming 9 Tails Jinchuriki, she had been hesitant to tell Yi Ming that there was a monster in her body, and she was worried that Yi Ming would treat her as a monster when she found out. Been hesitating. But now, after hearing Yi Ming's words, she realized that he knew everything. He didn't despise her, and in his heart, he thought of Jinchuriki like this. All the people who had just made a fuss closed their mouths at this time, all looked at Kushina with complicated eyes, and they didn't know how to face Kushina now. As Yi Ming said, Kushina is indeed Konoha's hero, but the 9 Tails in her body almost destroyed Konoha and killed their relatives and friends, which is also a fact. Humph. At this time, Comrade Shimura Danzo, Konoha Pot King, is on the line again. I saw him take a step forward and directly crossed Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, as if he was already Hokage, looked at Yi Ming and Kushina, and said with a face, I can't deny that your words have some truth, but Jinchuriki's the instability has already endangered Konoha, so Ninetales Jinchuriki must be handed over to us for strict supervision, otherwise I'll take care of your grandma. Yi Ming didn't wait for Danzo to finish speaking, and kicked Danzo with a dodging kick. Boom. Danzo didn't expect Yi Ming to be in front of everyone's eyes. Since he dared to do something to him, he was caught off guard and was directly kicked out by Yi Ming. Lord Danzo. Lord Danzo. Danzo's dogs. The members of the root group saw this. Some people ran over to see Danzo, and some people surrounded Yi Ming. Tsunade, take care of Kushina. Surrounded by more than 100 root members, Yi Ming took the weak Kushina to Tsunade without hesitation. Tsunade hugged Kushina, then looked at Yi Ming and said, do whatever you want. I will always be on your side. Yeah, Yi Ming nodded, then, looking at the root ninja surrounding him, his eyes suddenly sharpened, go away for lousy. After saying that, Yi Ming clenched his fists and slammed his fists into the air to his left and right. Click click, the air was shattered, and then, a vibrating force raged in all directions. Boom, the earth shook again, surrounding Yi Ming's root members, and under the force of this vibration, they all flew out like a kite. Unfortunately, if there was Conqueror's Haki, it wouldn't be so troublesome. Looking at the root members who flew out backwards, Yi Ming sighed in his heart. Use the power of shock fruit to clean up the soldiers. No matter how you look at it, it has the feeling of hitting mosquitoes with a cannon. If you wake up Conqueror's Haki and look down, how can you use such trouble? Danzo, if you want to play today, then I'll play with you. Control the shock force that will surround the ninja with his roots. After all were shaken, Yi Ming looked in the direction of Shimura Danzo and walked over slowly. Danzo, if you want to play today, then I'll play with you. Whoosh. As soon as Yi Ming finished speaking, his whole body turned into an afterimage and charged towards Danzo. Protect Danzo-sama. Seeing this, the root ninjas around Danzo surrounded Danzo one by one. Since you are so loyal, Lousy will fulfill you. Seeing Danzo being protected in the crowd, Yi Ming's eyes turned cold, and then, he mercilessly threw a punch at Danzo, including the root members. Empty shock. Bang bang bang. The savage, terrifying, and violent vibrational force blasted directly at Danzo and the others. Some members of the root who faced the shock force were directly blasted into blood mist under this shock force. And some of the stronger ones were also shocked by the terrifying shock force, causing them to vomit blood and fly out. With one punch, all that could stand was Danzo and a few of his henchmen. Yi Ming, what do you want to do? Do you want to betray Konoha? Seeing so many subordinates being raped, Danzo was also angry at this time. What are you doing? Danzo, don't you want to play? You also encourage the people. Well, then I'll play with you, so that you can understand that in the face of absolute strength, you are just a stinky mouse in the ground. Yi Ming twisted his neck and tilted his head slightly to look at Danzo. Bold, I'm Konoha's advisor and the elders, you are extremely sinful. Danzo looked at Yi Ming, who was so arrogant, yelled angrily. Yi Ming, you must not be rude. Danzo is a high-level executive of Konoha. Since you dare to shoot at the high level, you are betraying the village. I advise you to be obedient and capture it. Udatain Kaharu also roared in the distance at this time. Yi Ming, since you dare to kill the ninja from the same village, you can't forgive me. Mitokado Homura followed suit and accused Yi Ming, looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had been silent all the time, and said, Sarutobi, Yi Ming is like this act, you still don't let people take him down. Yi Ming listened to Udatain Kaharu and Mitokado Homura, hid in the crowd and roared at him, turned his head slowly, a pair of murderous eyes, and looked at the two of them fiercely. Immediately, the two of them closed their mouths under Yi Ming's sharp eyes. Good chance. Danzo looked at Yi Ming and turned his head, his eyes suddenly lit up, then, holding a handful of kunai, he rushed towards Yi Ming and stabbed Yi Ming in the chest. Young people are young people. It's a big taboo to be distracted when fighting. Seeing that Kuwu was about to stab Yi Ming's chest, Danzo thought happily. Pata. However, just as Danzo was happy, he held kunai's hand and was caught. Needless to say, it was Yi Ming who grabbed Danzo's hand. And Yi Ming looked at Danzo holding a kunai and wanted to kill him, which reminded him of the scene where Danzo took a kunai and stabbed Susanoo. Inexplicably, Yi Ming looked at Danzo like he was looking at a mentally retarded. Where did Danzo's brain circuit come from? Is there any misunderstanding of kunai's lethality? Is it crazy confidence? Can't figure it out. Yi Ming really can't figure it out. Danzo, who was tightly grasped by Yi Ming's tongue-like hand, noticed Yi Ming's gaze looking at him, and was suddenly a little puzzled, but he didn't have the time to think so much now. After struggling for a while, unable to free Yi Ming's hand, he made a mark with his left hand and launched an ninjutsu at Yi Ming at close range. Wind style, vacuum sphere. Who? Danzo opened his mouth and spit out a blast of wind at Yi Ming's head. Boom! The wind bullet hit Yi Ming directly in the face. However, Yi Ming's head was not only fine. After the wind bomb was about to touch Yi Ming, the invisible vibration barrier that wrapped Yi Ming's body was shaken away. At this time, Yi Ming, after 3 or 4 years of practice, with Whitebeard as a reference, and his insights under the influence of the internet explosion, his development of shock fruit has almost reached its limit, and he is about to move forward on the road of fruit awakening. The power of fruit. It has been developed to the ultimate, so that every part of his body can activate the power of vibration, but it is only the body parts that activate the power of vibration in different sizes. Crack. Yi Ming ignored Danzo's shocked gaze, and he had no interest in holding an old guy's hand all the time. Under Danzo's shocked gaze, Yi Ming's hand pulled hard, then twisted, and pulled Danzo's hand off. What? The arm was pulled down abruptly. Danzo let out a scream, and kept retreating. However, Yi Ming didn't plan to let the old guy go, just relying on what the old guy said to Kushina to incite the crowd. The old guy will die today. Yi Ming said, Sage of Six Paths is useless. Yi Ming looked at Danzo, who was holding the broken arm, and kept screaming and retreating. He squeezed Danzo's broken arm in his hand, and then, Danzo's broken arm was directly shaken by the force of the shock. A pool of blood missed. Afterwards, Yi Ming walked slowly towards Danzo and threw a punch. Danzo-sama. Wang Wang Wang. A group of black bugs attacked Yi Ming, directly wrapping Yi Ming's whole body in black bugs. Well done, take good. Danzo was bandaged by 2 rude ninjas, and looked at Yi Ming, who was wrapped in black bugs, facing a 20-year-old in front of him, wearing a pair of goggles and a long collar. The young man who looked a bit like Aburame in the original book praised it. Lord Danzo, these parasites of mine have been modified by me, and they are extremely toxic and corrosive. Kimura Yi Ming will definitely die this time. Aburame Yuliang controlled the insect mist and said confidently. Well, Danzo heard the words "is it Zhao's" and said a few good words, and his heart was full of joy. However, insects are the most disgusting thing. Boom, crush, a voice entered the ears of Danzo. Immediately after, they saw the countless bugs that wrapped Yi Ming into a black ball and exploded violently. Yi Ming's figure reappeared. Before Aburame Yuliang could react, Yi Ming came to him. Then, under his frightened eyes, Yi Ming raised a hand and pressed it on Aburame Yuliang, on the head. Since you are so loyal to the old dog Danzo, I will give you a ride first. Boom. As soon as Yi Ming's voice fell, the terrified Aburame Yuliang exploded, turning into a cloud of blood that floated around. However, when the blood flew towards Yi Ming, it was shaken by an invisible shock force. So, Danzo, are you ready to hit the road? Danzo was shocked when he saw that Aburame Yuliang was directly killed by Yi Ming. This Aburame Yuliang is an elite he has finally cultivated, and he cultivated him as a confidant, but now that he was killed by Yi Ming like this, how could he not be angry? However, at this time, he also felt the oppression of Yi Ming's terrifying power. Seeing that Yi Ming was still holding on to him, Danzo didn't hesitate, took a little blood with his left hand, made a seal with one hand, and patted the ground. Summoning technique. Come out. Pikachu cough. This is the author's fantasy. Boom. A white mist rose up, and then, a giant beast appeared in front of Yi Ming. This giant beast is Danzo's summoning beast, the Nightmare Taper. Yi Ming looked at the giant beast in front of him with a trunk like an elephant's trunk, 4 limbs toward tiger claws, and a body like a cow, and the corner of his mouth twitched. In other words, in the original book, although the summoning beast of Danzo was boasted at the beginning, it was still a legendary dream eater. However, it was fixed by the second pillar and a great fireball, which is really a bit of a stretch. Roar. Danzo stood on the head of the Nightmare Taper, and his face regained a calm expression, as if the Nightmare Taper under his feet had restored his self-confidence. Seeing Danzo's beating expression, Yi Ming was speechless for a while. Did this guy regain his self-confidence so easily? There was a kunai sprint to break his hand before, but now it seems that he died. As expected of you, the man who uses Izanagi as a body replacement technique. Awesome. Wait, Izanagi. Thinking of Danzo's arm full of Sharingan in the original book, Yi Ming glanced at Danzo's other intact left hand, and saw that his left hand was not badly bandaged. Yi Ming guessed that at this point in time, Orochimaru had not yet cooperated with Danzo, or had already cooperated, but did not study the successful transplantation of Senju Hashirama cells. Thinking like this, Yi Ming turned his eyes to Danzo's right eye, which had been covered by a bandage, and thought, this guy doesn't have a Sharingan transplant, right? It seems that he should be careful about this old guy. Well, otherwise, there is a real possibility that this old guy will be overcast. Come on, Nightmare Taper, devour him. Danzo commanded to the Nightmare Taper under his feet with an expression of victory. Roar. The Dream Taper let out a roar, and then opened its mouth like an elephant's trunk. Whoosh. The moment the Nightmare Taper opened its mouth, a whirlwind bee bag formed a Uzumaki in its mouth, and immediately turned into a suction force towards Yi Ming. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Countless boulders and waste ruins were sucked into the Dream Taper's mouth by this huge suction force. In the face of this huge suction force, Yi Ming seemed to be rooted in the ground. No matter how the Dream Taper sucked, he would remain motionless. I can handle 2 pillars and a great fireball, so I should be fine, right? After Yi Ming finished speaking, his hands began to form seals, and then he put his hands on his lips. Fire style, fire technique. A huge fireball shot directly towards Ximeng Taper. At this time, the Dream Taper was opening its mouth to release suction, so Yi Ming's great fireball technique, under the traction of suction, flew directly towards the Dream Taper's mouth. The huge fireball entered the Nightmare Taper's mouth and was swallowed up by it. Humph. The mere great fireball technique. I also want to deal with the Dream Taper. It's naive. The Dream Taper is the legendary dream-eating beast. How can? Boom. Looking at Yi Ming's great fireball technique, Danzo, who was directly swallowed by the Dream Taper, snorted coldly and mocked Yi Ming while standing on the Dream Taper's head. However, before he finished speaking, the Dream Taper under his feet suddenly swelled, and then it exploded directly. Danzo. Sarutobi Hiruzen, owner. Looking at the Dream Taper that exploded directly, everyone present was speechless. There are some different expressions in the eyes that look at Danzo one by one. It's impossible. It's so possible that the Nightmare Taper will be blown up by a mere great fireball technique. It's impossible, absolutely impossible. Rao is that Danzo's face is thick enough, seeing everyone looking at him with strange eyes, his face is red, shame. Haha, sorry, I'm not very good at ninjutsu, so when I released ninjutsu, I added a little something. I didn't expect it to work so well, Yi Ming said with a laugh. Also, as Yi Ming said, although he can practice ninjutsu now. However, he doesn't care much about ninjutsu. After all, no matter how strong the ninjutsu is, he can beat him with one punch, so he's still training ass. And the great fireball technique just now, he is also experimenting. Can he add the power of shock to the ninjutsu? Obviously, the effect is very good. Then, it's time for Danzo to send you on his way too. Yi Ming put away his smile, and immediately stepped forward and threw a punch at Danzo. Asshole, don't underestimate me. Wind style, big vacuum sphere. Danzo made a seal with one hand, and then, a huge gust of wind blasted out of his mouth. Boom. However, Danzo's huge wind bomb, in front of Yi Ming's fist, had no resistance at all, and was directly blown up by Yi Ming's punch. Yi Ming's body kept on hitting Danzo with a direct punch. Danzo looked at the fist that was getting closer, his face became more and more gloomy, and he understood it now. His and Yi Ming's strengths are simply not in the same dimension. No matter what kind of ninjutsu, under Yi Ming's fist, it can't have any effect, not to mention physical skills. Competing with Yi Ming in physique is simply courting death. So, Danzo intends to use. Sarutobi, haven't you shot yet? Yes, Danzo saw Yi Ming's fist getting closer and closer, and the breath of death rushed towards him. He used a great summoning technique, intending to summon an old monkey to save his life. Undoubtedly, Danzo's great summoning technique was very successful. Just when Yi Ming's fist fell on Danzo's head, Sarutobi Hiruzen, holding a large iron rod, appeared in front of him, and, with that one the big iron bar blocked Yi Ming's fist. Yi Ming, if you have something to discuss, Danzo really has something. Crack clap. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who stopped Yi Ming's punch, looked at Yi Ming who was punching the wish-fulfilling stick, and was about to speak to persuade him. However, there was a sudden sound of glass shattering in his ear. Hearing these voices, Sarutobi Hiruzen had a bad premonition in his heart, turned his head quickly, and then his eyes widened. Sarutobi Hiruzen heard the sound of shattering in his ears, and quickly turned his head to look at Danzo behind him. Immediately, he was completely stunned. He saw dense cracks in the air around Danzo behind him, and then, he saw that Danzo was still stunned and turned into blood mist. Boom! Danzo's blood directly sprayed Sarutobi Hiruzen's face, but Sarutobi Hiruzen still didn't react at all, and at the same time, he was also a little confused. Didn't he obviously resist Yi Ming's attack? Then why did Danzo? What is Lord Hokage trying to say? Yi Ming retracted his fists, looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with a dazed face, and raised the corners of his mouth. I'm sorry, Lord Hokage, recently I'm practicing a technique called, being a cow over the mountain. Teishu, I didn't hold back for a while, and I messed up Hokage-sama, I'm really sorry. Yi Ming just developed the power of shock fruit to the ultimate, and can control the burst point of the power of shock. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his head with blood all over his face, stared at Yi Ming with a gloomy face, holding the hand of the wishful stick, he couldn't help but exert himself. Although he and Danzo never dealt with each other, it is undeniable that Danzo also helped him carry a lot of blame, no, it should be a lot for Konoha. Now that Danzo is dead, the future, no, anyway, what happens to Danzo is very important to him. Now Yi Ming killed Danzo directly in front of him. Do you want to kill this kid? But I'm not his opponent. How about shaking someone? A bang, this doesn't seem to work. Ordinary ninja, it doesn't make any sense to deal with him. Yi Ming looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen who was constantly changing face in front of him, as if he was watching a monkey, and a faint smile appeared on his face. However, after a while, Yi Ming couldn't think of it. Because he saw the blood of Shimura Danzo on Sarutobi Hiruzen's face and slowly disappeared. Sure enough, Sharingan, is it really going to be used by this old boy Izanagi? Run away. Seeing the Danzo's blood on Sarutobi Hiruzen's face, and the blood splattered on the ground disappearing, how could Yi Ming not know that Danzo's right eye must have been transplanted with a Sharingan? Moreover, this Sharingan will definitely not be an ordinary Sharingan. Possibly a Mangekyo Sharingan. Because he can't perceive Danzo's breath at all, that is to say, Danzo used the power of this Sharingan to use Izanagi to live in a very selected local market. If it is an ordinary Sharingan, it cannot be resurrected at a distance. And only Mangekyo Sharingan can do this. In the beginning, he was still wary of this old dog and would use Sharingan to cover him up, but he didn't expect that this old dog would still use Sharingan as a body replacement technique. Besides, it's still a Mangekyo Sharingan. Nima, why is Danzo so stubborn? Hasn't he always had a hard head? And how does Yi Ming know that it's not that Danzo's head is not strong enough, but that Yi Ming's strength is too pervert? Even if he was someone who was inexplicably strong and confident, he was not sure that a Mangekyo Sharingan would be able to deal with Yi Ming. So, slip away. Who is this Mangekyo smashing into the street harming? Could it be the Uchiha realm? Yi Ming's face turned gloomy. I didn't expect it, but let this old boy run away. And Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had suppressed his anger at first, was stunned when he saw Yi Ming's sudden change of face. Immediately, he reacted, glanced at Danzo's position just now, and immediately understood what was going on. Then, an old face smiled and turned into a chrysanthemum. Chopping that chrysanthemum face really wants to test the guy now. However, after looking at the ruins of Konoha, as well as Jiraiya, Orochimaru, Hitaki Sakumo, and Namikaze Minato who were still fighting outside, he suppressed the urge to kill this old boy now. Forget it. After I get the Kingdom of Rain and get the system rewards, my strength will also skyrocket at that time, and Konoha will almost be rebuilt by then, just right for harvesting. Bad. Thinking of this, Yi Ming's mood improved a lot. Looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen who was smiling, a smile appeared on his face again, Lord Danzo seems to be going back to sleep. Then, Lord Hokage, everything will be over. I gave it to you, it's time for me to go home. I don't know if my home is still there, I'll go back and have a look. Yi Ming said, ignoring Sarutobi Hiruzen's reaction, and walked directly towards Tsunade and Kushina. Anyway, this old boy is just a tool person to help him rebuild Konoha at this time, he doesn't need to be so polite, he will kill the dog sooner or later. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Yi Ming's back with a sad expression on his face. Sarutobi, this Yi Ming is too much, there is no respect for you, Hokage. Udatain Kaharu came to Sarutobi Hiruzen, looked at Yi Ming who was careless and ignored them, and said dissatisfiedly. Mitokado Homura and others also came to Sarutobi Hiruzen's side, but this time, he didn't speak blindly. Without him, anyone with a discerning eye can see that even Sarutobi Hiruzen, who is Hokage, can't do anything about Yi Ming, and now he is blind. Force, isn't this courting death? People haven't gone far, okay. Clearly, Mitokado Homura was quite right in choosing to remain silent. Because, when Udatain Kaharu had just finished speaking, Yi Ming, who was walking towards Tsunade, suddenly turned around and looked at Udatain Kaharu with a blank expression. Seeing Yi Ming's expressionless face, Udatain Kaharu froze for a while, and then he saw Yi Ming and suddenly smiled at her. No, Yi Ming. Sarutobi Hiruzen also saw that Yi Ming suddenly smiled at Udatain Kaharu, and he was also shocked. And Yi Ming looked at Udatain Kaharu, suddenly holding a pistol in his hand, facing Udatain Kaharu, made a shooting sound, bang. Boom. Under the gaze of Sarutobi Hiruzen, Mitokado Homura, and countless Konoha shinobi followers, the head of Konoha's top, Udatain Kaharu of the Elders, exploded like a watermelon. For a time, blood, brains, and minced meat were sprinkled on the faces of Sarutobi Hiruzen, Mitokado Homura, and those who approached. Quiet. Everyone fell silent, not daring to make a sound. All of them looked at Yi Ming in shock. That's the top floor of Konoha. Since he was killed by Yi Ming in front of everyone's eyes. Yi Ming, since you dare. Seeing that his old friend was killed by Yi Ming's disagreement, whether it was Mitokado Homura or Sarutobi Hiruzen, they all trembled with anger. Oh, Yi Ming's eyes swept across Sarutobi Hiruzen, and finally fell on Mitokado Homura. When Mitokado Homura was stared at by Yi Ming, he couldn't help thinking of the tragic death of Udatain Kaharu. He was so frightened that he turned pale and took a few steps back. When Sarutobi Hiruzen saw this, he was also shocked, and immediately stood in front of Mitokado Homura without hesitation. Ha ha. Seeing this, Yi Ming laughed, then turned around and walked towards Tsunade Kushina. It's cool to be powerful. You can do whatever you want, even if you are Hokage, so what? Seeing that Yi Ming didn't kill him, Human let out a long sigh of relief. Not only was he relieved, but Sarutobi Hiruzen, as well as the various ninjas and commoner ninjas behind him, were all relieved. Yi Ming just now had a smile on his face, but the sense of oppression was really terrifying. Terrible too. The sky of Konoha is about to change. Hyuga Hiyashi looked at Yi Ming who was leaving, slowly raised his head to look at the full moon in the night sky, and thought to himself. It's not just Hyuga Hiyashi who thinks this way. He saw that he had just unscrupulously killed a high-level ninja in Konoha in full view of the crowd. All of them were the same as Hyuga Hiyashi, changed. It's just that none of them know whether this big change is good or bad. Go, Tsunade, Kushina, we're going home. Yi Ming took Kushina from Tsunade's arms, and when he took Kushina, he also, accidentally, touched Tsunade's cuteness, which made Tsunade glared at Yi Ming. Yi Ming, big brother, if you do this, will it really be okay? Kushina was hugged by Yi Ming and asked worriedly. She felt that Yi Ming shouldn't have done this just now, and if he wanted to kill, he shouldn't have killed it while so many people watched. Now, in front of everyone's eyes, killing Konoha's high level, what is the difference between this and the betrayal village? Let the people of Konoha look at Yi Ming. Yi Ming heard the words and understood what Kushina was worried about. He smiled at Kushina, and then said helplessly, I can't help but do this, Sai, if I don't do this, I'm afraid I won't have a clean day in the future. Kushina heard the words and immediately understood the meaning of Yi Ming's actions. Indeed, what happened to Nine Tails was not her fault, and Yi Ming explained it clearly to everyone. But, so what? Before long, hatred will fall on her. As Jinchuriki of Nine Tails, she is bound to become the outlet of hatred for everyone in Konoha. But now, Yi Ming, with his powerful strength, cruelty and madness, directly killed a big Yi senior executive. This is for everyone to see. Yi Ming is not a soft-hearted person. If you mess with him, even if he is Uranus lousy, he will still kill you. Yi Ming, big brother, I'm sorry, I'm the one who caused you. After trying to understand the key, Kushina said to Yi Ming full of guilt. Without him, Yi Ming did everything for her. Hee, my little Chili is so polite to me. Yi Ming showed an indifferent smile, looking at Kushina, who was full of guilt. Besides, when I came back this time, I had planned to kill this wood. Yi's F4s. Konoha F4. What do you mean? Kushina was puzzled after hearing Yi Ming's words. Ah, that's the meaning of the Mu Yi Tien group. Forget it. Anyway, you know this Konoha F4, it's just the 4 of them. Yi Ming shrugged. Okay. Although Kushina still didn't understand, he nodded, stopped talking, closed his eyes slightly, and put his head on Yi Ming's chest. Tsunade, who was ignored, looked at the two of them looking like you and me, and his eyes rolled up to the sky. However, she was silent again. The Nine Tails disaster, Konoha village almost turned into a ruin. Even if Yi Ming's home was on the edge of Konoha, it was unfortunate enough to be affected. In desperation, Yi Ming had no choice but to go to the Senju family's clan with Tsunade Kushina. The reason why the Senju clan's clan land was not destroyed is because, at the very beginning of Konoha's establishment, the Senju clan's clan land was enchanted. In fact, not only did the Senju clan's clan lands not suffer any damage, except for a few unlucky clans in Konoha, many ninja clan lands were equipped with enchantments, which remained in this battle. Yi Ming hugged Kushina all the way and followed Tsunade back to the still quiet Senju clan. Yi Ming and Tsunade didn't speak along the way, they just walked silently. As for Kushina in his arms, maybe he was really tired, or maybe it was too comfortable to be held by Yi Ming. He fell asleep before returning to the Senju clan. Coming to Kushina's house, Yi Ming carried her into her room, looked at Kushina who was sleeping on the bed. Yi Ming smiled, and then walked out of the room. I'm going out again, please take care of Kushina. Yi Ming wanted to go out and arrange for Yamada Miko and others. After all, he did not come back alone this time, but came back with Miko and some wounded and medical ninjas. Forget the time, they should be there soon. Of course, the reason why he went out was not to worry about the wounded and medical ninjas, but to Miko Yamada. Now he has offended Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others to death. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others are afraid of his power, they dare not attack him directly, but God knows, will they attack Yamada Mako, who has a close relationship with him. Besides, Danzo's old dog wasn't dead yet, so he didn't worry about Mizi staying in the village. Tsunade frowned when he heard Yi Ming's words, and then he didn't say much, just nodded in agreement. Seeing Tsunade who suddenly became preoccupied, Yi Ming didn't have time to say more now. After taking a deep look at her, he went straight to the one-handed family. In fact, just as Yi Ming was worried about, because of the wounded, Yamada Miko and the others hurriedly rushed back to Konoha. However, when they returned to Konoha, they were all stunned by the scene in front of them. Ruins, corpses, firelight. This is what they saw when they returned to Konoha. If they didn't recognize the broken gate of Konoha, they couldn't believe it. This was Konoha Shinobi Village. Konoha, what's the matter? Yamada Miko, dressed as a black ninja, stood in front of the broken gate of Konoha and stared blankly at the ruined Konoha village. Everyone was stunned. Not only her, but everyone behind her couldn't believe what they saw. This is our village. How is this possible? Konoha. How did it become like this? God, my family, my wife, God. They'll be all right. No, I'm going home right away. Since the village is gone. No, my mother just got sick not long ago. I don't know if she survived. The ninjas who just returned from the land of wind saw the scene of Konoha today, and their faces changed greatly after they were shocked. Because they still have relatives in the village. As a result, many wounded, unable to care about anything, rushed in toward the broken gate one by one. Whoa. However, just when these people needed to rush in, dozens of figures with masks appeared in front of these people and stopped them. Konoha has been under martial law, and no one can enter. A ninja wearing a mask looked down on his appearance, looked at the wounded, and said coldly. Why, we are all Konoha's ninjas, why don't you let us in? That's right, we were born and died for the sake of the village, and now the village is gone. The family doesn't know what's going on, so why not let us go back? Get out of the way, Lousy is going home, I am going back to find my wife and children. Yes, you all get out of the way, we're going home. Look at the stop in front of them. The ninjas who did not let them enter the Konoha village to look for their families, all the wounded who came back from the land of winds, were all angry. One by one, they want to do it directly and forcefully break into Konoha. And those ninjas who stopped these people saw this and made a fighting stance. For a time, at the same time, Konoha's ninja was about to fight. Whizzing. Just when the atmosphere was extremely tense, several more masked ninjas appeared in front of everyone. I saw the few people who appeared, came to the side of a leading Anbu ninja, and did not know what to say in a low voice. Then, the leading Anbu ninja nodded. Afterwards, the person who spoke to the leading Anbu ninja came to Miko and the others and said coldly, "Who is Yamada Miko?" Although this person was asking the crowd, his eyes fell on Miko after scanning around. Yamada Miko didn't know what was going on. She stepped forward a few steps and said, "I am, what's the matter?" When the man saw Mizi standing up, he nodded slightly, and then said to the wounded, "You can all go in." After that, the man looked at Yamada Mizi again and said, "There is an adult who wants to see you, Miss Yamada, please come with us." "Who wants to see me? Is it Lord Yi Ming?" Yamada Miko frowned and asked. The person who stopped Mizi heard Yi Ming's name, and his body trembled obviously, and then he said to Mizi in a cold voice, "You will know when you go, Miss Mizi, please." When the man spoke again, there were already more than a dozen masked ninjas surrounding Miko. Seeing this scene, Mizi didn't know that these people were not good people, so she quickly made a fighting stance. "Take it." When the leader saw this, he stopped talking nonsense and gave an order directly. As for the ninjas who came back with Miko, seeing this scene, some people wanted to help, but all of them were stopped by other ninjas wearing Anbu masks. Miko looked at the situation in front of her. Although she couldn't understand why these people wanted to arrest her, she was someone who had gone to the battlefield, holding Kuwu in her hand, and looked at the people who surrounded her with a pretty face. And just when these Anbu ninjas were about to shoot, a figure appeared in front of Miko. Master Yi Ming. Mizi, who was tensed all over, saw this familiar back, and her face showed surprise. "Don't be afraid, I'm here." Yi Ming turned around and looked at Mizi with a smile, then, his face turned cold, he looked at the leader, "Danzo or Sarutobi Hiruzen sent you here. Withdraw." Facing Yi Ming's question, the leading ninja didn't dare to say more, and immediately ordered to retreat. "Can you run? If you don't want to say it, then never say it." Yi Ming's expression turned cold again, and immediately, he stretched out a hand and grabbed the void in front of him. Bang 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 bang. In an instant, all the masked Anbu ninjas exploded and turned into a cloud of blood. Gudong. All the ninjas who came back from the land of wind swallowed their saliva when they saw Yi Ming, who was now decisive. "You know, these are Konoha's Anbu ninjas. How can Lord Yi Ming kill him? Okay, everyone, go in and find your family." Yi Ming looked at all the people who were terrified and showed a smile. Immediately, he put his arms around Miko's waist and disappeared in front of everyone. When everyone saw Yi Ming and Mizi who were leaving, they all looked at each other, not understanding what happened. Sarutobi Hiruzen, or that mouse from Danzo, Yi Ming, who hugged Miko and headed towards the Senju clan, frowned, wondering who the hell was, and the guts to provoke him. Sarutobi Hiruzen shouldn't be so brainless, then it's that mouse from Danzo. Thinking of the current situation of Konoha, the old silver coin of Sarutobi Hiruzen should not be so mindless to trouble himself, so the direct target is on Danzo. However, Danzo, this mouse, can really hide. His current perception does not cover the entire Konoha, but the range is not small. However, he passed through the entire Konoha all the way, since he could not perceive Danzo's chakra breath. "You can really hide." On the way back to the Senju clan with Mizi, Yi Ming briefly told her about Konoha's situation, which naturally shocked the little girl again. After reaching the yard of the Senju family Kushina, Yi Ming saw that in the pavilion in the yard, Tsunade took a pot of wine from nowhere, and was leaning against the pillar of the pavilion, gulps of wine. Seeing Yi Ming bringing Mizi back, Tsunade glanced at him. It's okay to mess around outside, you still bring it back, aren't you afraid that the little chili will be jealous and cut you off? Tsunade said, and glanced at the position of baby Yi Ming with some blurred eyes. Ah, Yi Ming was shocked by Tsunade's words, but when Tsunade said this, he did feel a little cold. Tsunade-sama, Miko yelled with her face flushed and her head lowered. Well, Tsunade nodded, then looked at Yi Ming, and said with interest, you little brat, as soon as I leave, will you eat my assistant? Ha! When Miko heard the words, she shyly said to Tsunade, Master Tsunade, what are you talking about? Yi Ming rubbed his brows and asked Mizi to find a room to stay first. After Mizi left, Yi Ming walked directly to Tsunade. And Tsunade looked at Yi Ming with interest. However, the next moment, Tsunade was completely dumbfounded. Bang dang! Tsunade's wine bottle fell to the ground, completely stunned. Because, Yi Ming, who was walking towards her, walked directly in front of her, pinched her chin, and before she could react, he kissed her red lips. Tsunade's beautiful eyes that were still a little blurred, suddenly widened, his face full of disbelief, and he looked at Yi Ming who was close at hand. I was kissed. How dare this brat? Tsunade's brain was blank. But Yi Ming was panicking at this time. God knows what happened to him just now. Looking at Tsunade, who was lazy and blurred in his eyes, he couldn't help but walk over. It's even more so insidious to do such a thing. It's over. In the original book, Jiraiya peeked into Tsunade's bath, and before she saw anything, she had 6 ribs broken, and she almost went straight to the sky. And if I do this to her now, I won't be directly beaten to death. Bar. How about running away before Tsunade can react? But. You can run away from the monk, but you can't run away from the temple. Forget it, let's hide for a few days and talk, otherwise, if you wait, I'm afraid you will really be beaten to death. Looking at Tsunade who was close at hand, her beautiful eyes widened and her face was bewildered, Yi Ming wanted to run away. However, just as Yi Ming moved quietly, preparing to escape, Tsunade suddenly stretched out his hands and hugged Yi Ming's waist directly. Finished calf. Yi Ming, who was about to run away, felt that he had been hugged by Tsunade, and his heart skipped a beat. The fact of being beaten has been prepared. At this moment, it would be great if I could armament hockey, at least I don't have to worry about losing my life. Yi Ming lamented in his heart that he wouldn't know armament hockey, otherwise he wouldn't have to worry. Yi Ming, who had already accepted his fate, wanted to separate from Tsunade, otherwise, he was afraid of being beaten to a pulp. However, when Yi Ming wanted to separate, he was shocked to find that he was hugged tightly by Tsunade's hands and couldn't move at all, and then he fixed his eyes on Tsunade who was close at hand. It was even more discovered that at this time Tsunade closed his eyes at some point. Seeing this scene, Yi Ming was stunned for a moment, then overjoyed, and he closed his eyes without worrying about it. Be bold. Well, operator. I don't know how long it took. Tsunade felt that her mouth was wet and numb. She opened her eyes, and then, suddenly startled, she spread out Yi Ming directly. And Yi Ming, who was about to get started, was suddenly spread out by Tsunade, and the whole person woke up instantly, and then, he waited for the violent storm of Tsunade. Does this count as dying under a peony flower, and being a ghost is also romantic? Yi Ming thought a little vaguely. However, Yi Ming didn't wait for Tsunade's violent storm, but heard her exclaimed, "Little devil, are you injured? What the hell is going on? When were you injured?" When Yi Ming heard the words, he was stunned for a moment, and then, after Yi Ming, he saw Tsunade's mouth and the position of his nose, all reddened. Blood. Yi Ming saw the blood on Tsunade's mouth and nose, and his first reaction was that Tsunade had a nosebleed. However, this idea was instantly dispelled, and he raised his hand and wiped it on his mouth and nose. Immediately afterwards, he looked at the redness on his palm. Don't move, I'll show you. At this time, Tsunade looked at Yi Ming in front of him, his mouth, nose, and ears were bleeding continuously. In his mind, he couldn't help thinking of the scene where Nawaki was covered in blood and poured out in front of her. With trembling hands, she pulled Yi Ming down and sat down. She couldn't help but feel a little panicked to examine Yi Ming's body, a very serious examination. It's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. Tsunade checked Yi Ming's body tremblingly, chanting words, his pretty face turning pale. Eye sockets become moist. And Yiming looked at Tsunade, who was full of panic, and a warm current flowed in his heart. Afterwards, he took the panic-stricken Tsunade into his arms and said softly, "I'm fine, it's just some side effects from overusing my blood base limit. It's fine." Tsunade, who was still in a panic at first, was suddenly held by Yiming. Her body froze slightly, and then, after hearing Yiming's words, her expression eased. However, although Tsunade was not so panicked, she still frowned and did not spread out Yiming, and asked directly the side effects of Shuiji's limit. Is it Shuiji's disease? As one of the best medical ninjas in the ninja world, Tsunade naturally has studied blood disease. According to her research, Shuiji disease is not so much a disease as it is energy conservation. The stronger the Shuiji boundary, the greater the chance of getting the disease. Just like their rivals of the Senju clan, the Uchiha clan also have this kind of blood disease, but the blood disease of the Uchiha family will only be revealed when the Sharingan is developed to Mangekyo. It's blood disease. Yiming nodded. Now Yiming has also figured out what happened to him, but it was only a side effect of shock fruit, and the anti-shock force broke out again. After all, his battle with Nine Tails was a full force. Naturally, the anti-shock force exceeded the body's tolerance range. However, with his current physical strength, although his consciousness will still be affected by the force of the shock. However, there was no longer any threat to his life. Even if he ignores it, his body's healing ability will slowly repair his body. However, Zhao Li's Tsunade didn't know Yiming's situation. After learning that Yiming had blood disease, he left Yiming's arms and looked at Yiming solemnly. Don't you understand the harm of blood disease? No, go into the room, and I'll show you a good look. Isn't it necessary? It will disturb them. Yiming didn't think it was necessary. After all, he knew his own situation. However, Tsunade ignored Yiming, pulled him directly, walked out of Kushina's yard, returned to her residence, and brought him into her room. Then, looking at Yiming, he said solemnly, "Take it off." What? Yiming looked confused. Undressed. Tsunade pointed to Yiming's new clothes. After thinking about it, he said again, "The pants are also taken off." Ah, Yiming is completely stupid. This lonely man and widow are in the same room, and asked him to take off his clothes. Oops. Grumpy. Tsunade looked at Yiming, who was grumbling, and he didn't care so much. He immediately started and helped Yiming take off his clothes. Immediately, he laid Yiming directly on her bed and began to examine his body. Yiming was completely stunned at this time. He was ripped off in a daze, and lay spread out on the bed. Then, when a pair of cold hands pressed against his chest, he still didn't respond. At this time, Tsunade, looking at Yiming's skin, slowly appeared one after another cracks. These cracks slowly seeped blood, frowned, and then guided chakra into Yiming's body, and began to check his body. When she found out that many meridians in Yiming's body were broken, as well as some damaged organs, her brows furrowed, and then she began to use medical ninjutsu for Yiming's broken meridians. While lying on Tsunade's bed, smelling the fragrance from the tip of his nose from time to time, and the cold touch on his chest, Yiming slowly closed his eyes, and he was a little intoxicated. The two of them didn't speak again at this time, and the room fell into silence for a while. I don't know how long it took. The cracks on Yiming's body were repaired, the broken meridians in the body, and the damaged organs were all repaired under Tsunade's medical ninjutsu. Tsunade wiped the sweat from his forehead, stood up slowly, and then stretched lazily, with a lazy expression like a painting. And this scene happened to be seen by Yiming, who also opened his eyes and looked at her. In an instant, Yiming was stunned. And Tsunade, who was stretching comfortably, suddenly froze, and then, before she could react, she was pulled and suddenly fell forward. Here the protagonist is playing chess and is fighting fiercely. And while Yiming and Tsunade were fighting chess in the room, the whole ninja world was not calm. As the first brother of the ninja world, the news of the destruction of Konoha Shinobi Village did not have to wait until the next day. The other 4 major ninja villages were all known at almost the same time. When the shadows of the 4 great ninja villages learned that the Konoha village, which had just defeated Sand Shinobi, was destroyed, they were shocked at first, and then they started to move again. I really want to take advantage of Konoha's vitality to destroy his mother directly. But soon, the shadows of the 4 major ninja villages, after reading the information in their hands, pressed down their restless mood one by one. At the same time, I started scolding my mother again. Konoha village is really a feng shui treasure. How come genius and evil spirits all appear in Konoha? And the reason why they did this is because, this time in the Konoha disaster, a man's name entered their eyes. Might die. That's the guy's name. What made them speechless the most was that this guy was also rare in chakra, difficult to refine, and could only practice body arts. Moreover, he also had the title of 10,000 years genin. Before that, he was unknown in the entire ninja world, and was ridiculed in the same village. However, it is such a guy, since he can fight against the strongest tailed beast, this is outrageous. A Yi Ming was born, it was outrageous enough, good guy, and now there is another mite to wear. Feelings, the tail of the crane in Konoha village, all the monks are sweepers, right? They play like pigs and eat tigers so smoothly. Will there be 1 or 2 in the future, and genin will overwhelm cage-level cattlemen? In short, the 4 major ninja villages, which were still a little ready to move, after reading the information in their hands, all put out their plans to attack Konoha now. The Second World War has been fought for a long time, and the consumption of various countries is not small. In addition to the natural disasters that have risen in the past few years, Yi Ming, Sanin Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Muyi-baya, and now might die, so many strong people. Even if Konoha's base camp was destroyed at this time, they didn't want to fight anymore. Therefore, on this night, all the 4 major ninja villages had the intention to completely end the Second World War. The country of grass, in a dark cave. The old Uchiha Madara, sitting on a stone chair, listened to White Zetsu's report. Mr. Ban, you BBCJ don't know, that kid is so scary, 1 punch can shatter a mountain, 1 foot can make a big hole, and hit 9 tails like a dog. You didn't see that scene. Let me tell you. White Zetsu is still dancing, telling Uchiha Madara about everything he saw, and this guy seems to be very excited, even more exciting than crossing the world of Yi Ming before. Kicks up a few times. Uchiha Madara closed his eyes, did not look at White Zetsu, and subconsciously filtered out the nonsense in this guy's words, listening to White Zetsu's words. That is, the old Uchiha Madara now, who has the patience to listen. If it is the young Uchiha Madara, just the White Zetsu who died at his hands, I don't know how much. Finally, White Zetsu finally reported all his information. Lord Ban, since that kid killed the top of Konoha in front of so many people in Konoha, it seems to have shocked Konoha's people. Our plan seems to have failed. After White Zetsu finished speaking, Black Zetsu said hoarsely to Uchiha Madara with his eyes closed. Uchiha Madara's plan, he knew, was nothing more than to use Yi Ming's relationship with Nine Tails Jinchuriki to alienate Konoha and Yi Ming. Let Konoha's people hate Nine Tails Jinchuriki, so they hate Yi Ming, and force Yi Ming to go to Konoha's opposite, so that they can win over. But now, Yi Ming is decisive, and in front of so many people in Konoha, he beheaded the high-level Konoha, so that no one dared to persecute Nine Tails Jinchuriki. After a long time, I am afraid their plan will not be good. Ha ha, Uchiha Madara showed a smile, and then said lightly, this kid's courage is really good. With his powerful strength, it is indeed a way to oppress everyone in Konoha. However, people's hatred cannot be eliminated by oppression. Oh, Master Class, you mean, that kid can't stay in Konoha? Black Zetsu asked. Humph, Uchiha Madara snorted coldly, and then said, formidable power can indeed oppress Konoha's ninjas, but those foolish people can't think about it so much. Let's see. That Xiaowei will join us sooner or later. After Uchiha Madara finished speaking, he looked at White Zetsu and asked, how's Nagato over there? Mr. Ban, the Akatsuki organization that Nagato set up with those 2 little devils is currently expanding its staff crazily. It seems that they want to negotiate with Hanzo. White Zetsu answered honestly. HMPH, what a bunch of naive brats. Uchiha Madara snorted disdainfully when he heard the words, and then said with a bit of dissatisfaction, that brat Yi Ming has such strength at such an age, but he has me the little devil with the eyes. Since he is still playing such a game, it is really a kuchiki. It seems that my old bones need to add fire to this kid Nagato. After all, Uchiha Madara's Scarlet Sharingan slowly turned, and instantly turned into the Mangekyo Sharingan, and then, the Mangekyo pattern quickly rotated again, slowly turning into a circle of patterns. In the early morning of the next day, when the first ray of sunlight shone on the earth, the darkness disappeared and the heaven and earth returned to clarity. Yi Ming leaned on the head of the bed. Tsunade rested on Yi Ming's arm, glanced at the little man in front of him, and said lightly, I really want to know if Kushina will cut you directly if she sees you like this. Ah, Yi Ming was stunned when he heard the words, and then he swallowed and said, it should be, not. Ha ha, Tsunade sneered, then, after a moment of silence, said, you're back, I can rest assured on Kushina's side, I want to leave Konoha. Ha, Yi Ming frowned when he heard the words, and then said, are you worried about Kushina? You don't have to, I'll find a way to tell her. Or, do you think the world is so big and you want to go out and see it? Look. Yi Ming's words, are very scumbags, but this is nothing, the world of Hokage, there is no rule that only one husband and wife can only be monogamous, and there are many nobles in this world, rich people, and many women. The reason why many people in the original book have only one wife is because most of them are ninjas. And ninjas have powerful powers, and most of them will not combine with ordinary people. Therefore, most of the other half of ninjas are also ninjas. Although there are some concepts of male superiority and inferiority in this world, female ninjas are also people with extraordinary power, and there are many powerful female ninjas. Naturally, they will not let their other half share their men with others. Over time, this also led to the silent compliance of the one-factory system among the ninjas. After hearing Yi Ming's words, Tsunade first glanced at the guy, then frowned and said sadly, this has nothing to do with you, in fact, if it wasn't for protecting Kushina, I would have left Konoha long ago. Yi Ming heard Tsunade's words and immediately understood what Tsunade meant. Although, because of him, the world of Hokage has changed a lot, Tsunade doesn't walk with Kato Dan and doesn't suffer from hyperphobia. However, the fall of the Senju clan, and what Sarutobi Hiruzen did to their Senju clan, made Tsunade completely disheartened. Yi Ming used some strength to hug Tsunade tightly. After a moment of silence, he slowly said, Tsunade, I need your help. Tsunade heard the words, did not stay silent. After thinking for a while, he sat up, looked at Yi Ming seriously and said, Yi Ming, tell me, what do you want to do? When Hokage takes control of Konoha. Yi Ming looked at Tsunade with a serious face, first nodded, then shook his head. Under Tsunade's puzzled expression, he said slowly, I really want to control Konoha in my hands, because I need the power of Konoha. Tsunade frowned. At this time, she suddenly felt that Yi Ming was a little strange, or that she didn't really know Yi Ming. Tsunade, I need Konoha's power, I want to give this world real peace. Yi Ming looked at Tsunade with a serious face of nonsense. Is the world peaceful? Is this really possible? Tsunade was a little lost when he heard the words. Peace. What an unrealistic luxury this is for the people of this world. I don't know how many years of fighting in this world, her grandfather, second grandfather Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobirama, didn't they unite with Uchiha Madara and the various ninja tribes to establish Konoha for peace? However, world peace seems to be really just an extravagant hope for this world. The establishment of Konoha did end the melee in Sengoku, but after decades of peace, the war changed from various ninja tribes to major countries and major ninja villages. Not only did the war not end, on the contrary, the scale of the war was even greater, and the number of deaths was also increasing. Even the Senju clan, the ninja clan that they have inherited for thousands of years, have fallen in such a war. Looking at Tsunade, who was stunned, Yi Ming put her in his arms, and then slowly said, Tsunade, did you know? Actually, peace was once very close to us. Ha! Tsunade was held in Yi Ming's arms, and quickly regained his senses. Hearing Yi Ming's words, he asked in confusion, what do you mean? Actually, the essence of war is the uneven distribution of resources and the greed of human nature. Yi Ming's deep eyes gleamed temporarily, looking at Tsunade and said, if there are no 5 great nations in the ninja world, no 5 great ninja villages, only a country, a ninja village, what do you think this world will become? Tsunade heard the words, the whole person was dumbfounded, and his mind was blank. Yi Ming ignored Tsunade's reaction and continued, if the ninja world has only one country and one ninja village, resources will be distributed uniformly. After sharing, for example, the land of wind, it will no longer lack water. You can mobilize ninjas in the land of water. To build an oasis in the desert, you can also build rivers and send ninjas to govern the desert. The land of earth is no longer short of wood and food. The land of fire is not short of ore. As long as this ninja world has only one country and one voice, that peace will shine on this continent. Yi Ming said this and looked at Tsunade excitedly. Tsunade, you know. I don't understand very much. Your grandfather, the first generation Senju Hashirama, since he unified the ninja of the Fire Nation with Uchiha Madara, then why didn't he pursue the victory and unify the entire ninja world? You must know that Konoha at that time, although it was just established, but he and Uchiha Madara's strength, as well as the strength of the various ninja tribes, there is full hope that they will be unified, but he did not do so, but instead the war between ninjas has evolved into a war between countries and the battlefield is expressed in another form. Another point, even if he doesn't want to unify the ninja world, why did he also distribute the powerful power of the tailed beast to other countries? Doesn't he know that Konoha has the power of 9 tailed beasts, which can deter the entire ninja world, to achieve a different peace? But look what first generation did. Since he sold the tailed beast for money. He is really a genius. With such power, since he didn't use it, he sold it directly, hehe. I really can't complain. Quote. After hearing Yi Ming's words, Tsunade felt as if someone had hit him with a heavy hammer, and he was stunned. But when she heard Yi Ming complaining about her grandfather, she instantly regained her senses, raised her fist and said, ruthlessly, don't talk about my grandfather like that. Ah, Yi Ming, who was excited and said bald-mouthed, was a little embarrassed when he saw Tsunade's appearance. This ride, in front of his granddaughter, complaining about his grandfather, this is really inappropriate. Cough. Well, it's my fault, I shouldn't complain about our grandfather. Yi Ming simply admitted his mistake. Tsunade heard this, his pretty face flushed red again, and he snorted, who is your grandfather with you? That's my grandfather. After that, Tsunade resumed staring at Yi Ming's eyes seriously and said, so, your purpose of controlling Konoha is to unify the ninja world. 370. Yi Ming nodded frankly. Seeing Yi Ming's admission, Tsunade pressed his eyebrows. Oh my god. You are really crazy. After a while, Tsunade looked at Yi Ming with some complexity and said, your thoughts are the same as my second grandfather. Second grandpa, Senju Tobarama. Yi Ming was stunned when he heard Tsunade's words. That's right. Tsunade nodded, then, as if recalling something. He said after a moment. I remember, when I was very young, Grandpa and second grandpa had a fight once, and the reason why they fought was that it is because the second grandfather persuaded grandfather to take advantage of the fact that the ninja villages in various countries were just established, and there were no such powerful existences as Grandpa and Uchiha Madara, to attack other ninja villages and manage all the ninjas in a unified manner. However, the second grandfather's proposal was rejected by the grandfather, and also scolded the second grandfather. Since then, the second grandfather did not mention this matter again, but secretly and frantically studied various forbidden techniques. However, after Grandpa knew about it, he once again stopped her now from studying the forbidden technique. Because, Grandpa knows, the reason why the second grandpa is so obsessed with researching forbidden technique is that he has not given up the idea of attacking the ninja world. He does not have the powerful wood style like Grandpa, so he studied forbidden technique, so as to gain strength, for the future prepare for the attack on the ninja world. In fact, just as Grandpa thought, after grandfather passed away, the second grandfather inherited the position of Hokage, and after taking control of Konoha, he began his attack on the ninja world and the goal of unifying the ninja world. Quote. Tsunade said this, stopped, and looked at Yi Ming complicatedly. Finally, as you know, the second grandpa failed. With the development of the major ninja villages, the second grandpa attacked the ninja world and unified the goal of the ninja world. It became difficult, and finally the second grandfather died in the land of thunder. Yi Ming was shocked when he heard Tsunade's words. He didn't expect that second Hokage Senju Tobarama, since he had the idea of unifying the ninja world, he even took action. Although, in the end he failed. But, it's not his fault. After all, the major ninja villages at that time had experienced so many recuperations, coupled with the unification of resources, they were already extremely powerful. And he doesn't have the overwhelming strength like Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, so it's justifiable to fail. However, His thoughts and far-sightedness definitely surpassed this world. Even Yi Ming suspected that Senju Tobarama would not be a transmigrator like him, would he? After all, it has been so many years since the establishment of the ninja sect from Sage of Six Paths, and no one has ever been able to develop so many bizarre forbidden techniques like Senju Tobarama. Yi Ming, I don't know why you think like the second grandpa, but I don't want you to do that, Tsunade said, hugging Yi Ming tightly, trembling slightly. I don't want you to follow in the footsteps of the second grandfather, I have only you now. Yi Ming regained his senses and hugged Tsunade hard, but did not speak for a while. He was really shocked by what Tsunade said. He needs to be quiet. Silence for a moment. Yi Ming suddenly said, Tsunade, do you believe me? Huh? Tsunade raised his head again and looked at Yi Ming. Yi Ming looked into Tsunade's eyes and said seriously, what Senju Hashirama doesn't do, I want to do. What Senju Tobarama can't do, I can definitely do it. Tsunade, trust me, I'm not Senju Tobarama, I will have that kind of strength, I need your help, can you help me? Tsunade listened to Yi Ming's words and looked at him blankly. Yi Ming also stared at Tsunade's eyes earnestly, with a firm expression on his face. In a moment, Tsunade sighed, then nodded, alas, my whole life is ruined by you little fool. Yi Ming heard the words and knew that Tsunade had agreed to him, and was overjoyed immediately. He happily held up her pretty face, and put her mouth on it. Then, he laughed. Ha ha. Tsunade, I really love you to death. Tsunade rolled his eyes at Yi Ming, then asked, what do you want me to do? Hearing Tsunade's question, Yi Ming restrained his smile, and then said solemnly, Tsunade, tell you the truth, in fact, this time I went back to Konoha with the intention of ousting Sarutobi Hiruzen directly and gaining the support of the Konoha shinobi clan, go directly to the Hokage location. However, I did not expect such a thing to happen, and the entire Konoha was almost destroyed. Moreover, the entire Konoha people know about my relationship with Kushina, although I use my powerful force to make everyone dare not push too hard. However, it would be too difficult for me to obtain a complete Konoha. Quote. Yi Ming was also a little helpless. He didn't expect that at the critical moment when he wanted to capture Konoha, the old guy Uchiha Madara would come off the court to make trouble for him. Let his strategy for Konoha go to waste. Had to find another way. Do you want me to be Hokage? Tsunade is not big-brained. After listening to Yi Ming's words, he immediately understood what he meant, and then frowned. According to your thinking, you want to Konoha's overall strength, otherwise with your current strength, you can directly drive Sarutobi Hiruzen out of power and become Hokage directly with a tough attitude. However, if you do this, there will definitely be many people who oppose it, and the power of Konoha will definitely be lost at that time. Quote. Yi Ming heard the words, gave Tsunade a thumbs up, and said in his heart, she is indeed the woman who took over as fifth generation in the original book. Ignoring Yi Ming's compliments, Tsunade continued, and I am the granddaughter of first generation, so I naturally have the advantage of being a Hokage. If I were Taiwan, the Konoha ninja would not have much reaction. Only, speaking of this, he looked at Yi Ming and said, my reputation is still not enough. After all, Konoha is not only a ninja, but also more civilian ninjas. I can't take over now. Chapter 91. Ha ha. Yi Ming suddenly laughed when he heard Tsunade's words, and then looked at the doubtful Tsunade and said, don't worry. Although it is difficult for me to get the support of the ninja now, when I become Hokage and take over the complete Konoha. However, the strength I showed was enough for me to gain enough voice in Konoha. Quote. Tsunade, have you ever thought about building a medical system in Konoha? As Yi Ming said, it is indeed difficult for him to win Konoha with full combat power. However, Tsunade has this possibility. First, Tsunade is the granddaughter of first generation. Second, she is strong enough and still young. As for the lack of prestige, it is difficult to convince the public. This is simple. In the original book, the reason why Tsunade's reputation is so huge is because Konoha's medical system was proposed by her. Let me ask, is there anything faster than saving the wounded and gaining fame faster? And, don't forget, in today's World War II, although the major ninja villages fought a bit miserably, but, except for Sand Shinobi. Well, because of the 3 pits of Danzo, Sand Shinobi has not been injured, to the point of That is to say, within 3 years, the 3 battles will definitely be fought again for some reason. Even if there is no reason, Yi Ming will make the 3 battles. After all, the battlefield is the place where medical ninjas accumulate prestige. Tsunade listened to Yi Ming's words, pondered for a moment, and then, his eyes lit up, and then he looked at Yi Ming with a smile and said, I think, I know what to do. Hearing this, Yi Ming also smiled, holding her pretty face, and sighed, then let's get up. Now Sarutobi Hiruzen is probably waiting for us. Tsunade nodded when he heard the words, and then, the two of them didn't shy away, got dressed and walked out of the room. However, Yi Ming was stupid as soon as he stepped out of the door. It's over, Barbie. Looking at the red-haired girl in the hall, with her back to them, Yi Ming felt bad. What's the matter? Let's go. Tsunade was behind Yi Ming, and didn't see anyone else in the living room for the first time. Seeing Yi Ming standing still, he patted Yi Ming's back in dissatisfaction, and then wanted to avoid Yi Ming and go out. However, when Yi Ming didn't block her sight and was sure of the girl in the living room, she was also dumbfounded. At this time, Kushina, who was holding her chin on the table in the living room, didn't know what she was thinking. When she heard the movement behind her, she stood up abruptly, turned around and looked at the two of them expressionlessly. Rao is Tsunade, who has always been free and easy. At this time, she didn't dare to face Kushina's eyes. At this time, she lowered her head as if she had been caught stealing food, and looked like she was wrong. Although, Yi Ming, the fool, brought it up first, but, no matter what, she slept with her little sister's childhood sweetheart, and she felt guilty. That, Kushina, actually, I want to say that nothing happened to us. Do you believe it? Tsunade and I were just playing chess in the room. Yi Ming felt that at this time he would rather play a game with 9 tails and don't even want to face Kushina. He is guilty. It's like a girlfriend who has been talking to for a few years. The relationship thief is fine, but before anything happened to them, he slept with his sister and was discovered on a horse. Whoever changed it can't stand it. Hearing Yi Ming's nonsense, Kushina yelled at Yi Ming for being shameless. She also played chess. She needed to go to the room to play all night. Is this an insult to her IQ? Kushina walked towards the two of them expressionlessly. Yi Ming and Tsunade were like elementary school students who made mistakes, and they felt a little drummed in their hearts like facing the teacher. Kushina, listen to me. Go away, big pig's hoof. Seeing that Kushina looked towards Tsunade, Yi Ming thought they were going to tear up, so he quickly blocked Tsunade. However, Kushina gave Yi Ming a vicious look, spread him out, grabbed Tsunade's hand, and walked into the room, saying, Sister Tsunade, let's talk alone. Boom. After the two entered the room, Yi Ming also wanted to go in, but the door was slammed and shut him out. It's over, barbecue is over, won't you fight in there? Yi Ming looked at the closed door, and felt anxious for a while, and quickly put his ear to the door, wanting to hear what was going on inside. If something went wrong, he broke into the door immediately. However, Kushina obviously knew that Yi Ming would eavesdrop. The room was set up with a soundproof barrier, and Yi Ming couldn't hear the voice of the two people talking inside. I'm going. What should I do? What should I do? Last night, I was kicked by a donkey in the head. I just came back and played chess with my sister. Isn't this trying to kill me? Yi Ming was in a hurry outside the door, and he didn't know what was going on inside. He wanted to break into the door, but he didn't dare. After all, people who do something wrong will always have a guilty conscience. Lord Yi Ming, I made breakfast, come and eat some. At this time, Yamada Miko walked in like a little maid with some cakes and looked at Yi Ming, who was walking around the door of Tsunade's room, can't help showing a sweet smile, and said, Ah, it's Mizi. Yi Ming saw Mizi walking in, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he decided to ask Mizi for some information. So, Yi Ming walked over quickly, pulled Miko and began to ask, Miko, do you know when Kushina came here? Yi Ming prayed in his heart that Mizi would say that he had just come. In this case, he would have an excuse to say that he also came in the morning, because he had a blood disease at the boundary of the blood, so he needed Tsunade to help him treat it. This excuse is perfect. However, Mizi's answer made Yi Ming almost slumped on the ground. After hearing Yi Ming's question, Mizi blinked her big watery eyes, and then tilted her head slightly and said, Kushina, she was yesterday. It's late, I think about it, it seems that she woke up after 3 o'clock, she couldn't find you and Tsunade-sama, so she came to see you here with me. Speaking of which, Mizi took a peek at Yiming and continued with a slightly flushed face, Kushina and I sat here all night. Boom. Yiming heard Mizi's words, as if a bolt of lightning had hit him in the forehead, making him goofy. Yesterday, Kushina was sitting here last night, doesn't that mean she listened to the live broadcast all night? Mine, should I go out and hide from the limelight? Gudong. Yiming swallowed and looked at Mizi and asked cautiously, then, you didn't hear anything last night, did you? Yiming is now praying that the soundproofing effect of Tsunade's room is comparable to that of KTV, otherwise. When Miko heard this, she recalled the sound from last night, and immediately, her whole body was about to smoke. Yes, Yiming didn't understand the situation when he saw Mizi's appearance. Click. At this moment, the door opened behind him. Hearing the sound of the door opening behind him, Yiming's body trembled, and then, like a robot, he turned around to prepare for the coming storm. However, contrary to Yiming's expectations, Kushina and Tsunade not only did not fight, nor did they face each other, but as usual, they looked like good sisters. Hand in hand, they walked out at the same time. When Yiming saw this scene, he was stunned for a moment, and then he was overjoyed and said in his heart, is it possible that my brother will enjoy the blessings of everyone? Suddenly, a sunny smile appeared on Yiming's face, and he opened his arms to meet the two of them, ready to give them a harmonious hug. Get up, big pig's hoof. Boom. Ouch. Yiming opened his arms to welcome a happy life, however, he was greeted by a violent little pepper. Just as Yiming approached, Kushina, who had a slight smile on her face, instantly turned her hair into an octopus, and with one punch, Yiming flew from the living room to the tree in the yard. Humph. Kushina looked at Yiming who was hanging on the tree by her, clapped her hands, snorted coldly at Yiming who was on the tree, then smiled and said to Tsunade and Miko, Tsunade's sister, Miko's sister, let's have breakfast. From Yiming opening his arms until he was punched away by Kushina, Tsunade just watched with his arms folded with a smile on his face, and when Yiming hung on the tree, he spit out 2 words, deserving it. Half an hour later, Yiming sat alone in the yard, turning his head from time to time to look at the 3 girls in the living room, who were laughing and laughing. Their appearance and their little expressions were as pitiful as they were. A sin. Yiming covered his face, then looked at the 3 girls in the room, and thought viciously, sooner or later, one day, we will be able to sleep together. Jun Yiming. At this moment, a familiar voice came in from outside the courtyard. Yiming looked up and saw a green tights Might was wearing full of energy. He waved to him with a smile and shouted. Dai. Yiming saw Might Dai, got up quickly, greeted him and said, Dai, have you recovered? Yiming couldn't believe it. Might Dai, who almost opened the door to death last night, is now alive and kicking. Ha ha. Might Dai looked at Yiming in front of him, laughed loudly, and said energetically, Youth, how can you waste it on the hospital bed? Might Dai said and gave Yiming a thumbs up. Seeing Might wearing like this, Yiming felt that a pair of dazzling white fang was missing. Ha ha. Dai, you are still so energetic. Yiming smiled, looked at Might Dai and gave a thumbs up, and then he asked knowingly, Dai, are you coming to see me for something? In fact, Yiming had already guessed that the reason why Might Dai came to him early in the morning was definitely Sarutobi Hiruzen, who were already in the meeting, but Yiming and Tsunade were not seen coming, and they dared not come to Yiming, so, the group asked Might Dai, who had a good relationship with him, to come to him. Sure enough, Might Dai heard Yiming's words and said bluntly, Oh. Lord Hokage asked me to invite you and Lord Tsunade to a meeting. After speaking, he scratched his head, and then continued, Well, what kind of meeting is this, and I also want to attend, in fact, I don't want to go. After all, my wife is still big and needs someone to take care of her. Yiming heard this, patted his head, looked at Might Dai and said, By the way, when I arrived last night, I just heard what you said to your son. What? What are you, my wife? I'm pregnant, and I do not know. Might Dai Wenyan, Might Dai, who is a tough guy, scratched his head shyly at this time, and then said with a happy face, Yeah. I met Miyu when we were on a mission. More than a year ago, I took over an escort mission out of the village. When I came back from the mission, I encountered a group of bandits attacking the village. After I defeated all the bandits, I rescued Miyuki. However, Miyuki's family was gone, so I took Miyuki back. Konoha. Speaking of which, Might Dai was too embarrassed to go on. Good guy, I can't see it, the hero saves beauty and saves a wife, that's okay. Dai. Yi Ming said with a thumbs up. Might Dai Wenyan scratched his head even more embarrassedly, showing a silly smile. Dai, you are here. At this time, Tsunade and Kushina's 3 daughters also came out. Tsunade saw this simple and unassuming man in front of him. He couldn't imagine that this man had the power to fight against 9 tails. Aha, good morning, Tsunade-sama. Might Dai greets Tsunade quickly when he sees it. Uncle Dai, how is Miyuki aunt? Kushina also spoke at this time. Oh, it's alright, it's alright. Facing Kushina, Might replied with a smile as usual without any extra expression. And Might Dai didn't have the slightest disgust on her expression, which also made Kushina relieved. She also knows her current situation. At this time, there are probably not many people in Konoha who don't hate her, right? Might Dai and Yi Ming had known each other for a long time, and she also knew Might Dai. Even, during this time, Might Dai's wife was pregnant, and she often visited her. If, even Mighty hated her, then she really didn't know what to do. Dai, you and Miyu moved to the Senju clan to live here, Yi Ming suddenly spoke to Might Dai at this time. It's not good. Might was taken aback, then glanced at Tsunade and shook his head. It's alright, let Miyuki move over here, anyway, the Senju clan has so many empty places, and a few more people are a bit popular. Tsunade said indifferently at this time, but his eyes were a little sad. This, Might Dai scratched his head when he heard Tsunade say this, not knowing what to say. It's settled, Yi Ming made a final decision, then, looking at Kushina with a dog-licking smile, he said, that. Kushina, Tsunade and I are going to meet Sarutobi Hiruzen for a while, you see. HMPH, Kushina snorted arrogantly, and then waved her hand impatiently, like chasing flies, and said to Yi Ming, let's go, what are you saying to me? Are you not very bold? Ah, Yi Ming was speechless and looked at Tsunade with a look of help. You two, don't look at me, Tsunade shrugged, then looked at Kushina and said, Kushina, I was with this guy last year, Sarutobi Hiruzen and them. Yeah, go, Tsunade sister, be careful, Kushina nodded and smiled. Yi Ming. At this time, in the meeting room of the Hokage building, Sarutobi Hiruzen was wearing a Hokage hat, smoking a cigarette, and bowing his head slightly, not knowing what he was thinking. In the conference room, all the ninja tribes of Konoha village were also invited. However, no one in the entire conference room spoke, and all of them stared blankly at the 3 seats at the bottom of Hokage. After an unknown time, the door of the conference room was opened. Everyone looked in the direction of the door in unison, and then they saw Yi Ming and Tsunade swaggering in, and Might Dai, who was a little nervous. Sorry, everyone, I kept you waiting for a long time. Yi Ming took the lead in, first glanced at everyone in the conference room, and then, with a faint smile, walked towards the empty seat as he spoke. No, Lord Yi Ming came just right. That's right, we have just arrived. Lord Yi Ming is too polite. Everyone in the conference room, except for a few representatives of the ninja tribe, did not make a sound, and everyone else smiled and echoed Yi Ming. There is no way. Where is the strength of others? At this time, they are still showing their faces, believe it or not, they will blow you up directly. What? This is the Hokage building, Lord Hokage is still there, Yi Ming dare not. Shit, last night, Yi Ming killed Udatane Kaharu in front of Hokage and many other people. Why? Thinking that they would not be able to carry a knife if they moved to another place. So, everyone in the conference room at this time, no matter what thoughts they had in their hearts, all did not dare to be stubborn with Yi Ming. Tsunade, Yi Ming is here. Sit, Dai, you too. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had kept his head down and covered his face with his Hokage hat, raised his head at this time, with a kind smile on his face, as if yesterday what Yi Ming did late, he doesn't remember it in general. Yi Ming and Tsunade saw Sarutobi Hiruzen with a kind smile on their faces, and invited them without saying much. After nodding, they sat down directly. Thank you very much. Might Dai bowed nervously to Sarutobi Hiruzen before sitting down beside Yi Ming. Just after sitting down, Yi Ming looked at Hyuga Hiyashi who was sitting across from him, and Uchiha Fugaku who was sitting next to Hyuga Hiyashi, turned to look at Sarutobi Hiruzen who was in the first place, and asked with a smile, Master Hokage, for today's meeting, but it's a very special meeting, why didn't Elder Danzo come to attend? As soon as Yi Ming said these words, everyone in the conference room instantly became quiet and looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen in unison. The corner of Sarutobi Hiruzen's mouth twitched, and he complained in his heart, BBFD, I wanted him to come, but he didn't dare. Sarutobi Hiruzen was complaining in his heart, but on the surface he still had a kind smile and said serious nonsense. Danzo was seriously injured for Konoha last night, so his job has been dismissed, finally Homura. He is old, has handed me a resignation report. Everyone in the conference room, after hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, rolled their eyes one by one and said in their hearts, as expected of you, Hokage-sama, your ability to open your eyes and talk nonsense is just a fork. He was injured because of Konoha. Are you tough on Nine Tails, or are you fighting against that mysterious man? Not at all. When Nine Tails attacked Konoha, people might still be drinking tea, and for Konoha, I bought. People in the conference room. No matter what he was thinking, no one spoke at the moment, and one by one watched the open and secret battle between Sarutobi Hiruzen and Yi Ming. Oh, is that so? Yi Ming smiled and nodded after hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, then glanced at Uchiha Fugaku who was beside Hyuga Hiyashi, and fired at Sarutobi Hiruzen again. By the way, Hokage-sama, the scene of the sudden disappearance of Elder Danzo last night, and the special chakra I felt at that time, if I guessed correctly, it should be the forbidden technique of the Uchiha family, Izanagi. Izanagi, this is the forbidden technique that only Sharingan can use. I just don't know how Elder Danzo can have Sharingan. Elder Danzo, isn't he collecting Sharingan for research? Oh yes, it's time to study it. After all, this is one of Konoha's signature bloodlines. I just don't know if the Uchiha clan has a large number of Senju clan, otherwise, I'm afraid that if I don't study the secret of Sharingan, I will follow in the footsteps of the Senju clan. Well, actually I think, Bion is also very worthwhile to study, you see. Sharingan may evolve into Sangoyu, Mangekyo, what about Bion? After it evolves, what kind of scene will it be? I'm really curious. You said what, Lord Hokage? Yi Ming's casual words echoed in the conference room, but all the people sitting were soaked with cold sweat on their backs unknowingly. Especially when Yi Ming said that when the Senju clan was around, all the ninja clans had a feeling of sadness in the death of a rabbit. Yes, the former Konoha clan has now fallen into this state. Many people think that the reason for its decline is because of the war. However, after what Yi Ming said, the decline of the Senju clan must be a conspiracy. Didn't you hear Yi Ming say that Danzo and the others were studying Sharingan? God knows, is the decline of the Senju clan because they were caught and studied. After all, the Senju clan has appeared before, the wood style who suppress the ninja world. Who doesn't want to have such a bloodline limit? And it is precisely because people think of this that they are afraid. Who knows, will their family be the next Senju family? Needless to say, who was the most frightened in the conference room, it was Uchiha Fugaku and Hyuga Hiyashi. Especially Uchiha Fugaku. You must know that Danzo has already transplanted Sharingan to himself, which means that Danzo may have secretly attacked the Uchiha clan. And Hyuga Hiyashi is not much better. Bion has been missed by many people, otherwise there would not be a secret technique like caged bird. Now Yi Ming proposes that Bion may still have the possibility of evolution. This is not an obvious statement to say, go and study Bion. Maybe the evolved Bion will be better than Sharingan. Cough cough. Sarutobi Hiruzen saw Yi Ming's words, and made everyone sitting there look at him, with a big change, knowing that Yi Ming couldn't go on talking, besides, he is afraid that he will be kicked out of power today. So, he looked at everyone and said clearly, everyone, please rest assured, research on the human body is forbidden by Konoha, and Konoha will not take action against his own people. Well, the content of today's meeting is to release 9 last night. Who is the mysterious man in Tails? What is his purpose? And the question of Konoha's reconstruction work. Speaking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Uchiha Fugaku solemnly and asked, Fugaku, you are the young patriarch of the Uchiha clan. You are here to represent the Uchiha clan. Nine Tails was obviously controlled by Sharingan last night, that mysterious person is absolutely with Sharingan. What do you Uchiha family think about this matter? After hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, everyone's eyes turned to Uchiha Fugaku. Last night, Ninetales' eyes showed the pattern of Sharingan, and even, in the end, it showed the pattern of Mangekyo Sharingan, which was seen by everyone. They wanted to see what the Uchiha clan would say. Hearing this, Uchiha Fugaku broke into a cold sweat. What can he say? He doesn't know. After the Ninetales rebellion ended last night, he asked people to investigate the clan to see if it was his own clan, and he did a good job. But, not to mention other things, only Mangekyo Sharingan, no one in the entire Uchiha clan has opened it, so how can he answer this? Uchiha Fugaku, facing everyone's attention at this time, the pressure is huge. However, just when he didn't know how to answer, Yi Ming spoke again. Actually, I don't think it's necessarily the Uchiha family who did it. After all, Elder Danzo can transplant Sharingan. Who knows if it was someone who accidentally obtained Sharingan? Did he transplant it himself? Or, was it directly done by Elder Danzo? After all, when Ninetales broke the seal, Elder Danzo didn't show up. Yi Ming's casual voice entered everyone's ears. The meaning of the words is directly directed at Shimura Danzo. When everyone heard the words, they all looked at Yi Ming speechlessly, feeling, Danzo is not dead, you are comfortable, right? When Uchiha Fugaku heard Yi Ming's words, he was overjoyed and quickly said, that's right. As Lord Yi Ming said, the mysterious person who controlled Ninetales last night is definitely not a member of our Uchiha clan, because, we Uchiha a family, it has been a long time since the Mangekyo Sharingan was born. And the mysterious man who controlled Ninetales last night, obviously, owns the Mangekyo Sharingan. Therefore, I think it is very possible that an outsider transplanted the Sharingan of our Uchiha family. After Uchiha Fugaku finished speaking, he glanced at Yi Ming gratefully. Yi Ming just smiled at Uchiha Fugaku. When it comes to the Uchiha family, Yi Ming also feels that this family is a tragedy. It is said that the Uchiha clan is an evil clan, a ruthless clan. Is it really so? No. On the contrary, Yi Ming felt that the Uchiha family was the true love family. Because, only with unrelenting love for people can there be huge hatred, and he can gain a powerful area of power. Of course, the reason why Yi Ming speaks for the Uchiha family actually has his purpose. After all, with the power of the Uchiha clan, even Yi Ming is very envious. If you control this power in your own hands, it will be Yi Ming's sharpest sword to conquer the ninja world. Pat pat pat. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't speak again. He sat in Hokage's seat, smoking one cigarette after another, wondering what he was thinking. And the others, no one dared to make a sound. All of them looked at the table in front of them, as if there were beautiful women without clothes on the table. Yi Ming didn't speak anymore, and sat in the seat carelessly, with one hand around Tsunade's slender waist. Tsunade rolled his eyes, and Yi Ming, who had no image, didn't say much. Anyway, Yi Ming knew more about her situation than her. However, one person in the conference room turned gloomy when he watched Yi Ming carelessly and hugging Tsunade's slender waist. After an unknown period of time, Sarutobi Hiruzen slowly raised his head again, looked at the crowd and said, the mysterious person who released and controlled Ninetales must be found out. After all, Konoha can't bear such an attack again. Quote. After that, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Yi Ming and said solemnly, Junior Yi Ming, we all know the relationship with Jinchuriki, and we have also seen the strength of Jun Yi Ming. Since that mysterious person can control Ninetales, the strength must not be underestimated. Lord Yi Ming, this task of investigating the mysterious person, I will leave it to you to do anything. Of course there's no problem with this. Yi Ming sat up straight when he heard the words, and said with murderous intent, who doesn't know that Kushina is my person? Since this guy dares to touch Kushina, even if Lord Hokage doesn't say it, I won't stop there. Hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded happily, then looked at everyone and said, since that's the case, then the investigation of that mysterious person and the protection of Jinchuriki will be handed over to Lord Yi Ming. Do you have any opinions? When everyone heard the words, they all nodded in unison. How can there be any opinion? Okay, then let's discuss now, the reconstruction of Konoha. My suggestion is. Yi Ming has no interest in the next topic, so he didn't speak, just watched quietly. All the people present were chatting with each other. Just as he was watching, he suddenly felt a pain in his waist. Yiming quickly turned his head to look at Tsunade on his right. I saw Tsunade at this moment, looking at him with a smile. A small white hand was resting on Yiming's waist. Cough. Tsunade, what are you doing? Let me tell you, you can't mess around with this waist. This is related to your happy life, Yiming said to Tsunade with a serious look. This silly fool, is the waist here messed up? You don't want a good and happy life, do you? Go, old man. Tsunade, who had just turned into a woman, obviously couldn't keep up. Hearing Yiming's words, his pretty face blushed slightly, and then he glared at Yiming viciously and whispered, "You fool, you were so arrogant just now. Why, Kushina is my person, isn't it numb?" Well, needless to say, this is jealous. However, who is Yiming? That is the existence that has embarked on the road of a scumbag. This scumbag quote did not come out of his mouth. I saw him looking at Tsunade seriously and said, "You are mine too. Why don't I come here in front of everyone and make a serious proposal in person?" After all, Yiming seemed to stand up. Seeing this, Tsunade blushed even more, and quickly grabbed Yiming, looking very angry. "This is a meeting, you are proposing here. Besides, who told you that my mother promised to marry you?" Cut. Yiming curled his lips, then, looking at Tsunade, he smiled badly and said, "It's fine if you don't marry, I won't suffer anyway, right?" In an instant, Tsunade's veins came out. Seeing this, Yiming hurriedly said in a joking tone, "Otherwise, you can use Konoha as a dowry, and I will eat a soft meal. After all, my stomach is not very good." Tsunade, who wanted to be angry at first, became quiet after hearing Yiming's words, and then he thought seriously for a while. Then he raised his eyebrows at Yiming and said with a smile, "Okay. From now on, you will be the little white face raised by your sister." Yiming. So, the reconstruction of Konoha is so decided. Does anyone else have any suggestions? Just as Tsunade and Yiming were whispering, Sarutobi Hiruzen and others had almost finished the meeting. Sarutobi Hiruzen sat in Hokage's seat. Seeing that everyone had no opinion, he said again, "Then Konoha will follow." Wait, Tsunade suddenly interrupted. When everyone heard this, they all looked at Tsunade in unison. "Oh, Tsunade, do you have any suggestions?" Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Tsunade and asked in a gentle tone. "Lord Hokage, and everyone, I believe you have seen the war over the years. Whether it's our Konoha or other ninja villages, the number of ninjas has been reduced by more than half because of the war. And many on the battlefield, there are actually many people who have a chance to survive, because of the lack of medical ninjas, resulting in 183 deaths. Now that Konoha wants to rebuild, it is better to improve the medical system. When training outstanding ninjas, medical ninjas should also pay attention. Moreover, I suggest that every mission team in the future should be equipped with a medical ninja, so that our ninjas can also have a certain chance of survival when they go out to perform missions. Furthermore, Konoha has established a complete medical department and established a Konoha hospital, so that everyone who pays for Konoha will have proper treatment." Tsunade eloquently explained the system of the medical department and how it would benefit Konoha after its establishment. After speaking, everyone in the conference room turned to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned, then looked at the crowd and asked, "What do you think of Tsunade's proposal?" After Sarutobi Hiruzen said that, the meeting room suddenly became lively, and one by one began to chat, discussing Tsunade's establishment of a medical department. In a moment, a Konoha Jonin fought and said, "Master Tsunade, Master Hokage, I think it is necessary to establish a medical department, but now is not the time. Today's Konoha wants to rebuild and needs a lot of resources, and with the current situation I'm afraid it will be difficult to establish a medical department." "That's right, Tsunade-sama, you have also seen the current situation of Konoha. Where can there be resources to establish a medical department?" "I think so. There is no need to establish a medical department at all. Isn't the ultimate ownership of ninjas the battlefield? Why waste so many resources?" "That's right. I also don't think it is necessary to establish it. Medical ninjas need people with strong control of chakra to learn. With such talents, it is definitely a good battle history to cultivate them well. There is really no need to establish the medical department. I don't really agree with it anyway." In the conference room, one person started to express his opinion, and he became the first bird, and then, one by one, all began to speak. However, most are against the establishment of the medical sector. Not many support Tsunade. Tsunade looked at so many rejections of her suggestions, and there was no change on the surface, but he felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Although she established the medical department, she has some careful thoughts, but the establishment of the medical department and the reform of the task team, for Konoha, there are only advantages and no disadvantages. As for the lack of resources, it's just bullshit. You must know that the country of fire is the most prosperous place in the entire ninja world. Even if the current Konoha is almost destroyed, it is not difficult to rebuild. The reason why they didn't want her to set up a medical department was because they felt that adding another department, or a department they were not familiar with, would have an impact on their rights. Oh, Konoha, it's really corroded. Looking at the righteous guys in the conference room, Tsunade sneered in his heart and just looked at them like that. She also glanced at her teacher, now Lord Hokage. Although there was no expression on Sarutobi Hiruzen's face, Tsunade could clearly see the smile that flashed across her teacher's face. I agree with Tsunade-sama. Just in the conference room, when almost everyone was opposed, a calm voice, extremely discordant, entered everyone's ears. In an instant, the meeting room that was originally like a vegetable market became quiet, and one by one looked at the place where the sound came from. I saw a young man with long silver hair, straight facial features, and a somewhat soft demeanor, slowly stood up, looked at Tsunade with a feminine smile, and said, I support Tsunade's suggestion, I think. PFF. Before Kato Dan finished speaking, a sudden burst of laughter interrupted his prepared speech. And because of the appearance of this laughter, everyone's eyes shifted again. Tsunade kicked under the table. Yi Ming, who was covering his mouth and laughing, rolled his eyes and said, What are you laughing at? Ha ha. Yi Ming still had a smile on his face, then slowly stood up, looked at Kato Dan and said, I don't know the name of this beauty. Puff. Ha ha. As soon as Yi Ming finished speaking, the entire conference room burst into laughter. Even Tsunade, who had been staring at him just now, had a smile on his face after hearing Yi Ming's words. Kato Dan listened to the smiles around him, his face suddenly gloomy, and when he saw the smile on Tsunade's face, he secretly clenched his fists, looked at Yi Ming and said, I don't know Yi Ming, why do you want to? Shame. Lord Yi Ming, as Tsunade's friend, doesn't support Tsunade, so why should he humiliate Tsunade's supporters? After Kato Dan finished speaking, the slightly feminine smile had returned to his face, and he glanced at Tsunade. In Kato Dan's words, there is a clear meaning to sow discord, and everyone's eyes are turned to Yi Ming. After Yi Ming heard this, he was not angry, he folded his arms and looked at Kato Dan coldly. The reason why I laughed out loud was because I saw a ridiculous jumping clown, and I thought it was ridiculous to be coquettish. As for what I said, I humiliated you. Hee, I just humiliated you, why? You. Kato Dan heard the words, suddenly suffocated, took a deep breath, looked at Tsunade and said, Tsunade, look at him. Shut up. Tsunade didn't wait for Kato Dan to continue talking, he waved at him in disgust, then stared at him and said, Kato Dan, I'm not familiar with you, please add an adult when you call me. Tsunade's words immediately made Kato Dan's face flush, and he didn't know what to say. Ha ha. Yi Ming sneered again, very satisfied with Tsunade's attitude. After all, that guy is in the original book, but Tsunade's boyfriend, it's strange that he likes Kato Dan. Who said I don't support Tsunade's suggestion? Yi Ming glanced at everyone, propped up the table with both hands, and an aura pressed towards everyone, not Conqueror's hockey. Just an aura. Yi Ming looked at everyone and asked slowly, Tsunade wants to establish a medical department, who is in favor? Who is against it? Tsunade wants to establish a medical department, who is for? Who is against? Under the pressure of Yi Ming's momentum, no one dared to speak. The meeting room was instantly quiet enough to hear needles falling. Seeing this, Yi Ming restrained his aura slightly, and said again, Tsunade's medical department, who is in favor? Who is against it? Yi Ming gave this 99 points in his heart, and 1 point less was because he was too proud. It has to be said that it has overwhelming power. It's cool, no wonder Phailu has so many readers, handsome guys, it turns out that pretending Shuangwen is really happy. Sarutobi Hiruzen lowered his head with an ugly face, and his body was trembling slightly, as if a volcano was about to erupt. My Uchiha clan approves. Just when the atmosphere was dignified, Uchiha Fugaku raised his hand and said slowly. My Hiyashi clan approves. When Hyuga Hiyashi saw this, he also raised his hand not to be outdone, and said. My Nara family approves. The Akamaiki clan approves. The Yamanaka clan agree. Konoha Jonin, Fujiwara Takumi agree. Konoha Jonin, with Uchiha Fugaku and Hyuga Hiyashi as their early starters, everyone who had been desperately disagreeing with turned into support one by one. Seeing this scene, Yi Ming was very satisfied. He turned his head and raised his eyebrows at Tsunade, and said, Look, are you a man? Tsunade clearly understood what Yi Ming meant and rolled his eyes at Yi Ming, but a sweet smile appeared on his face. Lord Hokage, what's wrong with you? Are you going to go mad? Come on, Tsunade, come and show Hokage-sama, this madness is not a minor illness, it can make people go to heaven if you're not careful. After Yi Ming and Tsunade exchanged glances, he saw Sarutobi Hiruzen trembling with anger, the corners of his mouth raised slightly, and then, with a worried look, he shouted loudly. Immediately, all eyes were on Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was originally angry, almost went over to look for first generation after hearing Yi Ming's words. However, with so many people watching, he is not easy to have a seizure. Well, it is useless to have a seizure. Not to mention Yi Ming's strength is there, just because so many people have supported Yi Ming just now, he is also full of concerns. So many people can support Tsunade to establish a medical department because of Yi Ming, although many people support Yi Ming because they are afraid of Yi Ming's strength. But who knows how many people are true and false? Sarutobi Hiruzen was full of worries, but he still forced himself to look at everyone calmly and said, Jun Yi Ming is joking with everyone, I'm fine, since everyone supports Tsunade to establish a medical department, then let's establish it. After that, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Tsunade and said, Tsunade, since you proposed the reform of the medical department system and the squad, then you are responsible for it. Okay. Tsunade nodded when he heard the words. Seeing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at everyone tiredly and said, Since the matter has been discussed, let's all do it, this meeting is here. At the end of the meeting, Yi Ming and Tsunade Might left the Hokage Sky Tower with everyone. In this meeting, Might Dai, who was playing soy sauce all the way, was a little silent at this time. He who has always insisted on the will of fire, facing Yi Ming this time in the conference room, repeatedly disrespected Hokage, which made him a little tangled. However, he didn't struggle for a long time before he regained his carefree expression. It was because Yi Ming was the first person in Konoha to recognize him. Anyway, as long as it is what Yi Ming wants to do, as long as he can help, he will never refuse. And Yi Ming, who had been observing Might's expression all the time, saw that he didn't feel disgusted, and a smile slowly appeared on his face. Sure enough, Might Dai is Might Dai and Might Guy is Might Guy. Although the two are father and son and have similar personalities, Might Dai is not as loyal to Hokage as Might Guy. Master Yi Ming. Yi Ming, who was in a good mood, had just left the Hokage building and was thinking about how to face Xiao Chili and how to realize the great ideal of sleeping together when a voice stopped him. Yi Ming stopped and looked at Uchiha Fugaku who was in front of him. Sir Yi Ming, thank you for speaking for the Uchiha family. Uchiha Fugaku bowed to Yi Ming with a serious expression, thanking him. No, I'm just telling the truth. Yi Ming waved his hands and looked at Urzuzi's father, who was still very young with a serious face. Anyway, Lord Yi Ming has also helped my Uchiha clan. I wonder if it is convenient for Lord Yi Ming to talk to my Uchiha clan. Uchiha Fugaku sent an invitation. Yi Ming heard the words, thought for a while and then nodded. It just happens that I have nothing to do, it's better to go and see. After that, Yi Ming looked at Tsunade and Might Dai. Tsunade, Dai, you all go back first. I'll go back when I go. Tsunade and Might Dai nodded and headed towards the Senju clan. And Yi Ming went to the Uchiha family with Uchiha Fugaku. Sir Yi Ming is really young and promising. At such an age, he already possesses such terrifying strength, which is really embarrassing. Obviously, Uchiha Fugaku is not a person who is very good at chatting. Well, it should be said that the Uchiha family is not very good at chatting. Along the way, Uchiha Fugaku and Yiming were chatting awkwardly. When approaching the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Fugaku suddenly asked, I heard that Lord Yiming is very familiar with Uchiha Makoto. Yiming suddenly stopped when he heard the words, looked up and down the boy, and then said, it is indeed quite familiar. Makoto and Kushina are good friends, and my relationship with Makoto is naturally not bad. What does it have to do with Makoto? Yiming said, and raised his eyebrows at Uchiha Fugaku, seemingly unhappy. Yiming was a little unhappy. Because of Kushina's relationship with Uchiha Makoto, he also has a very good impression of Uchiha Makoto. After all, this kind of virtuous girl is the most suitable for Nguyen, to marry home as a daughter-in-law. And Yiming will not forget, Uchiha Makoto is Urzuzi and Uchiha Itachi's mother. That is, in the original book, the old boy with facial paralysis in front of him will be Uchiha Makoto's husband. Now this old boy mentions Uchiha Makoto. Could it be that he is going to attack Uchiha Makoto? In this case, it is impossible to say that Urzuzi could not be born. The woman he likes, who else dares to be strong with him? Feeling Yiming's gaze, which was getting worse and worse, Uchiha Fugaku quickly waved his hand and said, No, I have nothing to do with Uchiha Makoto, and I'm about to get married, and the wedding date is set. Yiming was stunned when he heard the words, but he didn't expect it. It seems that the plot is already in chaos before he can make a move. Seeing that Yiming's expression softened, Uchiha Fugaku broke into a sweat. Originally, he really wanted to propose to Uchiha Makoto, but the birth of Yiming and the relationship between Yiming and Uchiha Makoto made the Uchiha family got another idea. That's it. Well, when you get married, I will definitely be there. Yiming showed 8 teeth and looked at Uchiha Fugaku. As long as this old boy doesn't rob his sister, otherwise, Konoha is afraid that there will be 2 less. One has the power of Mangekyo. At 9 o'clock in the evening, when Yiming came out of the Uchiha clan, the moon was already high. I have to say that the power of ninjas is very powerful and practical. In just one day, Konoha, which was originally a ruin, has been cleaned up, and even houses are already being built. This is all due to the ninja's ninjutsu. One earth style goes down, the ruins sink into the low, and then another water style wind style cleans up in an instant, and then, followed by earth style, the house is built, and fire style dries and compacts the house. Such a ninja construction team has opened Yiming's eyes. Yiming took Uchiha Makoto towards the Senju family as a doctor while watching the gradually changing Konoha village. Yes, it's Uchiha Makoto. When Yiming came, he went alone, and when he left, there was one more person. And why did Uchiha Makoto follow Yiming back? No need to say more about this. The Uchiha family said that Uchiha Makoto is a good button with Yiming, and naturally needs to follow Yiming. Hey, don't you have anything to say when you're here? Uchiha Makoto looked at Yiming, didn't talk to her, and said angrily. She and Yiming are also childhood sweethearts, they know each other well, and naturally they are not so polite. Yiming turned his head to look at Uchiha Makoto, and said with a smile, what do you want me to say? Are you talking about the dowry? Hearing this, Uchiha Makoto's pretty face immediately turned red, and he glared at Yiming and said, what nonsense are you talking about? Believe it or not, I'll tell Kushina later. Yiming shrugged and said indifferently, just say it. Maybe Kushina is still very happy. Aren't you good girlfriends? Good girlfriends, right? Pointing arrow. A perfect life. Go to your whole life. Uchiha Makoto rolled his eyes, and then said seriously, you were in such a mess with Lord Hokage and the others, and you stayed in the Uchiha family for so long today, and now take me back. You are not afraid of Lord Hokage and the others. Flip your face back. Quote. Uchiha Makoto is not stupid. The clan asked her to go back with Yiming, which already shows what agreement Yiming and the Uchiha clan reached. And the Uchiha family was not very harmonious with the high-level Konoha, and now with Yiming, who also hates seeing the high-level Konoha, it is conceivable that Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others are probably already jumping. Flip it. Yiming still had an indifferent expression, and then, under Uchiha Makoto's stunned expression, he pulled Uchiha Makoto into his arms and said with a bad look, You are ready, yet. What are you going to prepare? After struggling in Yiming's arms to no avail, Uchiha Makoto asked shyly. Get ready, Yiming whispered with the wind blowing in Uchiha Makoto's ear. Ah, badass. After hearing this, Uchiha Makoto spread out Yi Ming with a flushed face, and ran straight towards the Senju clan. Looking at the back of Uchiha Makoto leaving, Yi Ming put his hands behind his head, looked at the full moon in the night sky, the corners of his mouth raised slightly. Everything is going well, Hyuga is next. In the next few days, Yi Ming was sore and happy. Since Kushina and Uchiha Makoto were not yet young, Yi Ming did not attack, so the target was naturally aimed at big sister Tsunade. However, this made Kushina and Uchiha Makoto a little uncomfortable. Especially Kushina, looking at the little wild grass that grew up with her. Since the first bite was not hers, she was already depressed. Unexpectedly, what was even more depressing was that this guy, Yi Ming, went to the Uchiha clan, took her good best friend, and refused to play chess with her under the pretext of age. This is simply unforgivable. However, if that's the case, she can bear it. After all, she is about the same age as Makoto, and neither can. However, since this guy secretly played chess with Miko while they were not around, this was simply unbearable. So, Yi Ming was tragic. In a fit of rage, Kushina took Makoto and Miko to help Tsunade set up a medical department together, and he didn't see anyone for almost a day. And Might Day's wife also had a big belly, so naturally she didn't have time to talk nonsense with Yi Ming, so Yi Ming became an orphan. Sorry. Looking at the empty Senju clan, Yi Ming felt the loneliness of Tsunade. So Yi Ming decided that this person can't be idle, he has to find something to do for himself. On this day, Yi Ming bought a lot of balloons and balls and put them on the training ground of the Senju family. And on this day, Kushina and Uchiha Makoto didn't know why, and finally stopped going out. He also accompanied Yi Ming to the training ground. Looking at the pile of balloons in front of him, Kushina pouted and said, "I said, how boring are you? You are so old, and you still play with balloons. Or water balloons." Giggle. Uchiha Makoto on the side heard the words, looked at Yi Ming who was speechless and giggled. Kushina, can't say the same. Maybe Yi Ming feels that his childhood memories are missing, and now he is trying to make up for it. What about Chi? Haha. Kushina burst into laughter upon hearing this. Looking at the two little beauties laughing, Yi Ming thought 100 times in his heart. He picked up a water balloon, put it in his hand, glanced at the two women and said, "You have long hair and short knowledge, don't you know that brother is developing ninjutsu?" You develop ninjutsu? Kushina looked suspicious, but she knew Yi Ming's situation very well. Before the awakening of the blood and the limit, it was just the tale of a crane who could only practice body arts. And even after awakening Shueiji Bianji, it is not seen how Yi Ming used ninjutsu. Now Yi Ming says that he wants to develop ninjutsu, which is a fool to believe. Also disbelieving, there is Uchiha Makoto. Yi Ming is strong, she admits that Yi Ming, who has never been interested in ninjutsu, wants to develop ninjutsu. How is this possible? Good money. Humph. Seeing the suspicious eyes of the two women, Yi Ming decided not to care about them, and everything was based on facts. Putting the water polo in his hand, Yi Ming concentrated the chakra and started to make the chakra spin inside the water polo in an irregular direction. Bang! Top! Soon, the water polo exploded in Yi Ming's hands. Watching the water polo in Yi Ming's hands explode, Kushina and Makoto were at a loss, wondering what Yi Ming wanted to do. Yi Ming looked at the exploding water polo, and after thinking for a while, picked up a rubber ball, then released chakra, maintained at one point, and then let chakra spin irregularly inside the ball. Om! The ball in Yi Ming's hand made a burst of Wang Ming, and then boom! The ball exploded, scattering pieces of the ball. It seems that Rasengan is not difficult. Seeing Yi Ming bursting the water ball again and the leather ball bursting again, Kushina and Makoto were full of question marks. Hey, smelly Yi Ming, what are you trying to do? The impatient Kushina couldn't help but ask. Didn't you see? I'm playing ball. Yi Ming raised his eyebrows and looked at the two girls. Ah, rogue. Kushina and Makoto were seen by Yi Ming and hurriedly covered their chests with both hands. Ha ha. Yi Ming laughed, then, looking at the palm of his hand, frowning and thinking for a long time, then he released chakra directly. Shoo shoo. One after another blue chakra, visible to the naked eye, slowly gathered in Yi Ming's hands, and then, these chakra began to concentrate, condensed, looked at a point, and spun. Om! A blue chakra ball the size of a leather ball appeared in Yi Ming's hand. It's done. Yi Ming was overjoyed when he saw this. He thought that cultivating Rasengan would take a lot of time, causing him to prepare so many balloons and balls. Unexpectedly, after only 2 tries, he succeeded in plagiarizing Rasengan. Well, he developed it. However, this is not surprising. After all, Yi Ming already knew the principle of Rasengan, and after he crossed over, his spiritual power was very huge. After integrating the sage body, the chakra skyrocketed even more. So, due to various factors, Yi Ming naturally gave Rasengan to master soon. Then, try the power now. Yi Ming looked at the blue chakra ball spinning in his hand and pressed it towards a big tree. Rasengan. Boom. Rasengan pressed against the tree, and in an instant, a big hole was blown out of the tree. On the big hole, there are obvious signs of rotation and tearing. Wow, Yi Ming big brother, what kind of ninjutsu are you doing? It's so cool. Besides, it's still a ninjutsu that doesn't require a seal. This power can be regarded as A-level ninjutsu, right? Kushina, who saw this scene from beginning to end, instantly came back to her senses, and then trotted to Yi Ming's side, hugging Yi Ming's arms with both hands, like a little fangirl. Seeing this, Yi Ming curled his lips and pinched Kushina's fleshy little face. Haha, when I'm fine, I'm called Stinky Yi Ming, and when I have a request, I'm called Big Brother, you. Kushina's face was pinched, she blinked her eyes at Yi Ming, and said coquettishly, then will you teach me? Seeing this coquettish Kushina, Yi Ming suddenly got goosebumps and was about to speak, when suddenly his other arm was also hugged. Yi Ming turned his head and saw Makoto holding his arm and looking at him with a smile. Yi Ming big brother. Okay, I'll teach you okay. Yi Ming shivered and answered quickly. Yeah, hearing this, Kushina and Makoto released Yi Ming's arm instantly and struck with both palms, and then they each went to get the water polo. Seeing this scene, Yi Ming shook his head with a wry smile, and sighed with emotion. People's hearts are not ancient. An hour later. Ah yeah. Kushina held a water polo in the palm of her hand, her eyes were wide open, her steamed bun face was gradually disappearing, her face was flushed red, she stared at the squirming water polo in her hand and screamed. Beside her, Uchiha Makoto frowned and stared at the ball in his hand, letting his chakra condense and spin inside the balloon. Boom! The water polo in Kushina's hand exploded, but it wasn't chakra's spin that exploded, but her hands that exploded. Hateful. Don't practice, what the hell? It's just against me. Kushina was angry and depressed, especially when she saw Uchiha Makoto who was about to complete the second stage, she was even more depressed. What's wrong? Our little pepper just gave up. Yi Ming walked over with a smile and looked at the puffed Kushina said. HMPH. Kushina snorted proudly, then she hugged Yi Ming's arm and said coquettishly, BBCF don't care. Stinky Yi Ming, you have to find a way for me to burst the water polo right away. Yi Ming was speechless when he heard the words. The heart said, this is already a very simple way of cultivation, okay. In fact, he was also a little depressed. After all, the first stage of Rasengan training mainly depends on chakra's control. As long as chakra's control power reaches the standard and has the direction of cultivation, this first stage is not difficult. Didn't see Uchiha Makoto on the side. In less than an hour, has it entered the second stage. However, Yi Ming pondered for a moment, and then, a little bit understood. Kushina can easily master even such a difficult sealing technique, but now it is the first stage of Rasengan which has been completed. What led to this result was nothing more than the same look as Naruto in the original. That is, the influence of Nine Tails chakra. Even though Nine Tails at this time did not deliberately make things difficult for Kushina, but because the chakra of Nine Tails is too large, there are some leaks all the time, which not only contains Kushina's body but also strengthens the physique. But these chakras, after all, are not Kushina's, which also leads to some interference when Kushina mobilizes chakras. And these disturbances are exactly the chakra control in the first stage. Wanting to understand that Kushina had just finished the first stage of research, Yi Ming put her son, the original work, anyway, in this world, Naruto will not be Kushina's son. Yi Ming told Kushina the principle of the first stage of Naruto's cultivation in the original book. Kushina's eyes lit up when he heard it, and then he couldn't wait to grab another water polo. While moving chakra, he grabbed the water polo with his left hand. Boom! After a while, the irregularly rotating chakra exploded in the water polo, and the water in the water polo. Kushina was extremely excited. Haha. It's successful, I'll say. Miss Ben is a genius. Yi Ming. After handing over all Rasengan's cultivation methods to the two women, Yi Ming told the two of them, and then walked towards the forest of death outside Konoha. Cut the beard in advance. Oh no, it's because the Rasengan was developed in advance. It's not that Yi Ming is really boring and has nothing to do. Instead, he suddenly had some ideas, and I have to say that this Rasengan is really a panacea. In the early days of Rasengan, it had no attributes. Later, under the development of Naruto, Rasengan added wind attributes and became wind-style spiral shuriken. And if you use fire attribute, thunder attribute, etc. and even 5 attributes, you must know that Yi Ming has the existence of 5 attributes, chakra. If Rasengan adds a shocking force, then, what will it become? Wind-style, spiral shuriken. Call out, boom. In the silent forest of death, a high-speed rotating white light group flew out with a sharp whistling sound. This light group, like a sharp sword, cut off all the trees in front of it, and then, the white light flashed and exploded. The power is not bad. Looking at the big pit in front of him, Yi Ming nodded with satisfaction. This wind-style spiral shuriken almost caught up with the small-tailed beast Jade. Even, because of the addition of the wind attribute, it has an unparalleled cutting power. If it hits the body of the creature, the cutting power is enough to make any ordinary creature shred directly. Then, now try adding other attributes. Let's start with the thunder attribute. Yi Ming raised his hand, and immediately, a Rasengan formed in an instant, and then, a wisp of electric arc appeared around the Rasengan. Crack crackle crackle. Ohm. The arc of Rasengan's hand was sucked into it by the high-speed rotating blue chakra, merged into the blue chakra, and spun together. Wang Wang. With the addition of the thunder attribute chakra, the blue Rasengan gradually changed. The first is its color. After adding the thunder attribute, the blue Rasengan began to slowly turn into a dark purple. At the same time, one after another electric snakes circled continuously on this dark purple Rasengan. At the same time, Rasengan, who gradually turned dark purple, began to become a little restless. The spherical Rasengan, after adding the thunder attribute, began to become violent, and the entire spherical shape appeared one after another, like a thorny sphere. This should be considered complete, right? Looking at the dark purple Rasengan floating in his hands, a bit violent, with the possibility of an explosion at any time, Yi Ming was a little uncertain. After all, in the original book, no one has tried the Rasengan Gare attribute. Try it. Yi Ming was no longer struggling, and directly threw the dark purple Rasengan to the front. Hey, dark purple, Rasengan carrying Thunderbolt, at the moment when he got out of Yi Ming's hands. It turned into a purple light, like a purple lightning, piercing the void. Tour. The trees that were touched by the purple light instantly turned into ashes, as if they were burnt out by the high temperature in an instant. Boom. Crackling. With the sudden appearance of white light and the explosion of purple light, lightning-style Rasengan temporarily released countless thunder and lightning, obliterating everything around it. Hee. It seems to be a success, lightning-style Rasengan. Well, this name is not cool enough, so let's call it lightning-style plus super cool Rasengan. Yi Ming looked at the ground that seemed to be ravaged by a thunderstorm in front of him, touched his chin, and gave this move a very shiny name. By the way, why is my naming style somewhat similar to Yongdaime? Suddenly, Yi Ming was a little dazed, feeling a little strange. Since the selling attribute can definitely be added to Spiral, then other attributes can also be used, so try these other 3 attributes. Quote. However, it is too troublesome to try one by one. Since it is feasible to add 5 attributes to Rasengan, then. Yi Ming's eyes suddenly became sharp, and he let go of all the momentum and opened his arms. Rasengan. Wang Wang Wang. In front of Yi Ming, 5 blue dots suddenly appeared, and then, the 5 blue dots floating in front of him kept spinning, followed by strands of chakra, forming 5 football-sized Rasengans. Looking at the 5 Rasengans floating in front of him, Yi Ming's expression was extremely serious. After all, this is without contact. The void concentrates chakra and outputs chakra, which wants to be controlled by incomparably powerful mental power. Seeing the formation of 5 Rasengans, Yi Ming's mouth twitched slightly, and then he became serious again. Because, next is the main event. Quote. Yi Ming's hands were flat in front of the 5 Rasengans. The 5 chakra attributes of wind, thunder, fire, water, and earth are added to the 5 Rasengans in front of them. Once upon a time, along with these 5 chakra attributes, are added to the Rasengan King. The 5 Rasengans in front of Yi Ming began to change. The originally blue Rasengans began to change towards white, dark purple, dark blue, fire red, and dark black. Hoo. A whirlwind centered on Yi Ming, heading in all directions. The clouds above Yi Ming seemed to feel something, like a sea of clouds, and began to churn continuously. All the animals in the forest of death seemed to sense something, and they all lay down on the ground and shivered, and even a lot of animals began to incontinence. In Konoha village. What's going on? This sense of oppression. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was processing the documents, suddenly felt a palpitations, suddenly stood up, came to the window, looked in the direction of the forest of death, and then quickly returned to the desk, took out a crystal ball, infused with chakra. Suddenly, a picture slowly appeared in the crystal ball. Looking at the figure in the picture, Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned, and then, his eyes turned to the 5 spheres of different colors floating in front of Yi Ming. What kind of ninjutsu is this? 5 escaping chakra nature transformation. Is Yi Ming developing ninjutsu? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the 5 Rasengans of different colors in front of Yi Ming in the crystal ball, his pupils suddenly widened. He is also a powerful ninja of the Grandmaster's 5 escape ninjutsu, and naturally saw the chakra nature transformation of the 5 Rasengans. And it was when he saw it that he was shocked, because, in the entire ninja world, he had never heard of anyone condensing 5 chakra nature transformations like Yi Ming. Even if he, the ninjutsu professor, wants to release the 5 escape ninjutsu at the same time, he needs the assistance of Shadow Clone. What kind of ninjutsu is he trying to develop? What a monster! Sarutobi Hiruzen stared at Yi Ming in the crystal ball very solemnly. He wanted to take a look. Yi Ming, what kind of power does this 5 escape ninjutsu possess? Crack clap clap, crack crackle crackle. However, at this moment, arcs of electric arcs suddenly appeared in Sarutobi Hiruzen's crystal ball, and then, the entire crystal ball began to slowly crack. Not good. Boom. When Sarutobi Hiruzen saw this, he just wanted to stop spying, but before he could make a move, the entire crystal ball exploded. Sarutobi Hiruzen was instantly annoyed as he watched the crystal ball explode. This is his darling, and now it has been destroyed like this. How can he peep in the future? Cough. How to detect potential enemies in Konoha. This sense of oppression is. Just when Sarutobi Hiruzen was annoyed that his precious treasure was destroyed, Tsunade, who was busy establishing the Konoha medical department, also felt an inexplicable sense of oppression. She suddenly put down all the work she was doing, and came to the roof of a newly built house, looked in the direction of the forest of death, and carefully sensed the sense of oppression. Tsunade, who was feeling serious, was suddenly stunned, because she sensed a familiar chakra breath. And that sense of oppression was the familiar chakra aura. What kind of plane is this guy doing? Tsunade relaxed after identifying the owner of the chakra scent. Forget it. I'll ask the guy when I go back in the evening. After knew that the inexplicable sense of oppression was caused by Yi Ming, Tsunade stopped paying attention. After all, the Konoha medical department has just been established, and she still has a lot of things to do now. When she goes back tonight, she will have time to ask Yi Ming. In a pitch-dark road under the mountain behind Konoha village, a figure with his right eye covered by a white cloth and a mutilated arm walked slowly forward with no expression on his face. This person is none other than Danzo, who escaped with a Mangekyo Sharingan as a body replacement technique. Speaking of which, Danzo was also a little sad. On that day, he originally planned to use this Mangekyo Sharingan to control Yi Ming by performing illusions, so that Yi Ming could be used for him. Moreover, he is also confident that his Mangekyo Sharingan can definitely control Yi Ming. Because, this Mangekyo Sharingan is his former companion, the disciple of second Hokage, Uchiha Kagami. And Uchiha Kagami's Mangekyo Sharingan has a pupil technique that can change the minds of others. However, this pupil technique has a disadvantage, that is, the preparation time is a bit long. Thinking of that Mangekyo Sharingan, Danzo expressed that he felt a little distressed. It's not that he was so extravagant that he used the Mangekyo Sharingan as a body replacement technique. Just when Danzo's mind was flying, he finally reached the end of the Chongdao. At the end of this gully was a heavy door, and when Danzo opened the door, a room appeared in front of him. However, this room did not have a bed or daily necessities, but some bottles and jars, as well as corpses soaked in potion. Obviously, this is a laboratory, and a laboratory for the study of the human body. The whole laboratory plus the bottles and jars inside looked a bit dark and terrifying. However, even in such a dark laboratory, there is a person, holding a notebook on a laboratory table, looking at the person on the laboratory table, or what the corpse is recording. Orochimaru, how's the research going? After Danzo walked into the laboratory, he came directly to Orochimaru beside the experimental bench, first glanced at the corpse on the experimental bench, and then asked Orochimaru beside him. Hee. Orochimaru closed the book, let out a deep laughter, and said to Danzo, Sir Danzo, are you too impatient? You know, those are Senju Hashirama's cells. I've only been in contact with me for so little time, how can I be so fast? Speaking of this, Orochimaru paused for a while, still with a dark smile on his face, a pair of snake eyes, but stared at Danzo tightly and asked, Hashirama's cell vitality is too strong, even if I have diluted it a lot. It has been done all over the place, but it still can't make people integrate Hashirama cells perfectly. Perhaps, we can consider using Senju clan, preferably with Hashirama blood, as experimental subjects, for example, Tsunade, or Senju Nawaki's corpse. After Orochimaru finished speaking, his eyes kept staring at Danzo, as if he wanted to see how Danzo would react. And Danzo listened to Orochimaru's words, still with a dead face, lowered the remaining eye, as if thinking. In a moment, Danzo looked at Orochimaru again, and asked slowly, I can give you the corpse of the Senju bloodline, but you don't need to think about it. The blood relatives of the first generation, Tsunade's strength is there, and there is another that Yi Ming is helping her. It is impossible to capture her alive or kill her. As for Senju Nawaki's body. Danzo said this, was silent for a moment, and then continued, I don't know where Senju Nawaki's gone. Then, what about his organs? I saw with my own eyes that Senju Nawaki's organs were dug up. Danzo. Sir, Orochimaru's mood was obviously fluctuating when he talked about Senju Nawaki. Senju Nawaki, the only grandson of the first generation, the sister of his friend, and his only disciple. But Senju Nawaki with such multiple identities, since he was killed in front of him and his organs dug out, this is the shame of his Orochimaru life. Danzo listened to Orochimaru's words, looked up at Orochimaru, expressionless, and did not open the door. And Orochimaru is also looking at Danzo, the smile on his face has disappeared, just staring straight at Danzo's one eye. After a long time, Danzo looked away and said slowly, Senju Nawaki's organs are no longer with me. Having said that, Danzo turned around and walked towards the gate. At the same time, his voice came into Orochimaru's ears again. The corpses of the Senju clan, and the survivors, I will arrange for them to come over, but I hope, the next time I come, you can give me a satisfactory result. Pretend. Watching Danzo walk out slowly, saying while walking, leaving the back of his head for him, these two words appeared in Orochimaru's mind inexplicably. This is. At the same time, Danzo and Orochimaru frowned, and a sense of pressure came. Immediately afterwards, Danzo looked at Orochimaru sharply, thinking that Orochimaru was going to kill him, but when he saw Orochimaru, who was motionless, he put down his guard and carefully sensed the source of this oppressive feeling. However, when Danzo felt this oppressive feeling and the familiar chakra breath, Danzo was a little frightened. Because he was so familiar with this chakra breath that he could even remember it freshly. Is that Mr. Yi Ming? Orochimaru glanced at Danzo, who was a little frightened, and there was some disdain in his eyes. At the same time, he became more curious about Yi Ming. Don't get me wrong, Orochimaru is curious about Yi Ming's body, More precisely, he wants to study the secret of Yi Ming's body. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.